Happy New Year to everyone once again. We're doing our Week 18 NFL Pick Show, our second episode of the week. Before we get into everything, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. Once again, I'm wearing my money laundering t-shirt. It's a great shirt, so nice I had to wear it twice. You can get it as well as everything else at the merch store. We have a 15% off sale. You can change the colors of everything. We have a hoodie, infant onesie, women's tank top, long sleeve t-shirt if you're a deranged individual and you want to wear those. You can get all that. You can get our mug. You can wear our baseball cap. We have our famous apron. Everything's here at the merch store, 15% off once again. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks to the College Years, which still has perfect 5 out of 5 ratings. So that what might be the best book of all time. So you're missing out if you haven't read it. Safety and a Field Goal, 4.1 rating, still pretty good. It's a top 5 topic book about the NFL, mostly serious stuff, but some fun stuff too. And please consider super chat, super stickers. Q1 is here, unfortunately. It is January 2nd officially if you're on the East Coast, and that means the ad rates are plummeting. We are going to make absolutely nothing from this video. So if you enjoy our show and want to help support us, this is the perfect time to donate via super chat, super stickers, because we're going to get, like, no joke, like 17 cents from this episode. So way below poverty level here. So we are joined once again by Evan Daniel on a Thursday night for the final time in the regular season, because it's the final week of the regular season. Evan, how's it going? How's your week 17?
Week 17 was good. Happy New Year to everyone once again. I saw some of your show last night with Andy. Week 17 was good. Once again, we had a lot of standalone games, which means we had a lot of opportunities to play props and take advantage of bad numbers, bad odds, or I should say good odds. We killed Derrick Henry props. There were a couple of other games where we really did a nice job with player props, and that's been the gold standard now for the last couple of weeks. Is the picks, unfortunately, haven't been great. Although I know you did great last week on the against the spread down the line card picking, but the props have just been incredible. Derrick Henry as a prime example. Last week we had him to hit 175, 200. I had him having 2, 3, 4, and 5 touchdowns. Of course, he got to 4 touchdowns. So that game alone just covered the entire week. So we're going to have that opportunity now. Again, this week we have a couple of standalone games, Saturday and Sunday night, and then, of course, every game down the road. Standalone game, which we'll be looking out for what we can look for in those games as standalone games. Speaking of which, we just had now Georgia Ole Miss. I had Georgia plus 640 on the money line when they were down by 10. They got a touchdown. I immediately hedged, take Ole Miss. I played a yes overtime prop at plus 630. And I can't believe that Ole Miss threw the ball deep and Georgia gave up a 3rd and 5. That cost them the game late. I was sure that game was going to overtime once it was tied with 49 seconds to go. Oh, well, move on. But that's the way to play these games. And we'll see this week, and we'll have a lot of discussion over motivation, who's playing, which players are playing, how long they're going to play for. At halftime, you know who's playing. At halftime, you can see who is playing hard. At halftime, you can see who wants the game, who cares, who doesn't care. You know more of the situation. If that team is up, if this team is up, maybe they take the foot off the gas. So we'll have a lot of conversation tonight in certain games about teams' motivation, player motivations, etc. But when you know more of that in game. So be careful. If you want to make guesses and assumptions now, pre-game, for an office pool purpose, cool. But if you're betting on these games, be very, very careful, because we might make assumptions on what we think, who might play hard, who might not play hard, who cares, who doesn't care, but it's all a guess. Once the game starts, you have a much, much better chance of wagering in-game, winning, and taking advantage, like we have been, of player props and crazy odds that should not be the numbers that we've been getting. But we've been hitting them, and I keep telling you, stop playing half units, stop playing quarter units, play the game. The numbers are off, and you betting 1 unit is the way to take advantage. You don't have to hit 52.3% when you're getting an average of plus 300, plus 400. Think about that. When you get a team plus 300, you have to win 33% to break even, not 50%. If you hit 50%, you're making money. So don't be shy. When I tell you there's something we can ladder it. But stop chickening out with your quarter unit bets.
I have to do it. I have to. I'm getting my feet wet here. I don't know. Maybe we'll do it this week. But it always feels bad when you lose everything, or if you get like the base correct and you still lose money on it because you didn't hit the two ladders, the two rungs ahead of it. So, I just want to like the 1.5 and a quarter units. Basically, it's like, okay, if I hit the base but nothing else, I still make money. That's how I approached it. But I do understand where you're saying. I completely agree. I mean, yeah. So go ahead. Yeah.
Go 2 units, because some of those bets, like remember back to the Trevor Lawrence bet at halftime against the Jets a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
The base on Lawrence was like 80 yards. It wasn't a crazy number.
Yeah.
It was a number set because they assumed he wouldn't be playing or throwing. Now, if you watch that game and you see he's in the game in that situation, and we laid off Drake May for the same reason last week, we had an inclination that he was coming out. Trevor Lawrence was playing in that game. It wasn't necessarily a blowout game, but he was done because remember, the Jets were scoring. So the Jets had 21 points, I think, at halftime in that game. So the fact that the Jets kept scoring and kept in the game, you knew Lawrence was going to keep throwing. So the baseline was a major bet. That was an easy bet. The yards after that, the ladder yards, were a little bit harder. We got good odds on it, but that was a great bet. Sometimes I'll write to you, I'll text you and say like, so-and-so yards makes no sense. Like Henry, for example, I don't remember what his baseline was, but it was in the 40 to 45 yard, let's say 40 yards in the second half of that game. Because his line's not 110 for the game. His line's like 80 for the game. Mm. So the second half, his line is like 40, 41, 42 yards, somewhere in that low 40 ballpark. That's a great bet. That should be a larger bet than your 3 to 5 units on Team X because you believe one team is not going to play, right? You know Henry's playing. The only hesitation is, number one, does he get hurt? Obviously. So you don't want to go crazy with one player because they get hurt, you're done. Yeah. And also, Harbaugh has a tendency in a big game to forget that Henry exists. But knowing that he forgot about Henry the week before and took a lot of flack for it, it was very, very obvious that he was not going to forget about Henry a second week in a row after everybody was asking him, what's with Henry? Why didn't he play in the last 9 minutes of the game? Is he hurt? What's Harbaugh supposed to say? No, he wasn't hurt. I just forgot. I forgot he's on the sideline. So, and I was worried that he wasn't going to get so many carries. He ended up with 36 carries. So we need to be mindful of that going into this week. This week, obviously, is a playoff game. And it'd be hard-pressed to think that Harbaugh would forget that he's on the sidelines, kind of, all out, all in last game of the season. Mm-hmm. But he did have 36 carries last week. McCaffrey is another example of a back that's being run into the ground. McCaffrey, between drives, has a back injury. They're working on his back. He says, I'm playing, no problem. And he's going to play. He's tough. But we have to be mindful that when we see McCaffrey having a big game and the Niners are riding him with touches and receptions and targets and carries, he does have a back injury. And when we get to that game, we'll talk more about weather and defense in general. But that's a game where you don't necessarily want to go crazy laddering a player that may not get the usage that you might think.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah, there's certainly nuance to everything with that, and you have to pay attention to that sort of thing. Patrick saying, super off topic, with Scott Horton shared my Substack on X, called me great young libertarian. Not only that, Dana McAdams does a show with Ron Paul, Reddit. Great start to New Year's. That's awesome, Patrick. Yeah, I've been following your Substack. That's so cool. Congrats on getting the shout outs there. And put the house on the Panthers. Bucks are choking at the worst times. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. And Evan, your ladders have been awesome. Do you prefer ladders or alt line parlays?
Both. We do alt line parlays sometimes, but I'm generally not a parlay bettor. I like ladders. They're straight bets. They're good odds. And the reason I like them so much is because I think the odds are mispriced. It's not about, do I think a player is going to get 300 yards or 200 yards rushing or 4 touchdowns. I don't think Henry's going to get 4 touchdowns in a game, but the odds are insane. The odds are, I missed the first one, the 1 and the 2. So as soon as he got the first one, I played 2 and 3. The second touchdown was like plus 130, but the third touchdown was 6-1. So why can't he get, if he gets that second, why can't he get the third?
Yeah.
So just to me, and once he gets the second, I already have 3, which again becomes like a minus 110 bet. I already have it at 5-1, 6-1. I play the number 4 at that point. Why not? And you keep going. So I love the ladders. The ladders are great. Alt-line parlays are fun, but I actually do alt-line parlays with more likely outcomes, meaning if a team is -10, maybe I'll do an alt line as a money line. Or if I like a dog at 2.5 or 3.5, maybe I'm going to alt line 7.5 or 10.5, parlay with another dog getting a couple more points, meaningful points, through a key number. So, and I'll do that with a total as well sometimes, but ladders are better.
Okay. And he says Harbaugh, quote unquote, forgot about Henry because he's got a future ticket on the Steelers. LOL. Seriously though, I know people who work for teams that have bet on other teams. One of my good sources. I don't have that as many as Charlie, but I do have one really good source. He works for a team, and he's not some schlub like who's getting coffee. He's like one of the higher ups. He told me he bet on another team to win the Super Bowl. Like oh, that's kind of weird. It's conflict of interest there, but I was like, I actually thought it was a good bet. So, it's pretty
That's
funny.
crazy.
So that does happen.
I wouldn't reveal who that is.
Oh no, never in a million years will I do it.
That sounds pretty wild.
Yeah. So it certainly happens. So anyway,
if he had a futures ticket on the Steelers, he should also have a futures ticket on the Ravens. And we talked about this for months. In the beginning of the season, when the Ravens were falling apart and everyone was hurt, we said, Steelers are still plus money. Get them. Plus 185, plus 175, plus 150. And I said, the whole premise to this is that in 5 weeks, we're going to come right back and we're going to take the Ravens. And that's exactly what I did. I had the Steelers at plus 185. I have the Ravens at even money. And then 2 weeks ago, I played the Ravens just for fun because I figured, why not? It just takes one Steeler loss and we'll get right back to this game. After they lost to Pittsburgh week 14, I played the Ravens at plus 1,000.
Nice.
So why not? And now to hedge it, of course I have the Steelers to win this game. Now, whether I think they're going to win or not, we'll talk about later. But the hedge opportunities are there, and you have to continue to take advantage. So Harbaugh forgot to bet Henry because he's got a futures ticket. If he were smart, he would have a futures ticket on his own team as well, because 10-1, you're basically betting 10-1 that the Steelers lose to Cleveland last week. Now, I liked Steelers last week, and I still think they should have won. Shame on me because the NFL had to have that game rigged. If you missed the last play of the game, blatant PI in the end zone, the Steelers should have first and goal at the 1. But the NFL wants the game. So what are they going to put on Sunday night? They needed a couple of extra games. There's only 3 or 4 games this week that matter for anything, really. So, of course, the Steelers were going to lose that game last week. You were right. I was wrong. I actually told you before the game, don't bet Baltimore. Don't bet Cleveland. Yeah. They're going to only score 13 points. What do you know? They scored 13 points. I was right. I just didn't have Pittsburgh having 6.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Yeah, we need more NFL journalists so details like that about placing bets on other teams, not on ESPN journalism. Well, ESPN has people who say Geno Smith's the top 10 quarterback, so you can't really beat that. Where else are you going to find that sort of analysis? Lamar will start. Yeah, it sounds like Lamar's going to play. He's going to start. So we will get to that at the end of the show, of course. And let's get to the beginning of the slate, which is Panthers at the Buccaneers. When Andy and I were discussing this last night, the Buccaneers are -2.5. They've gone to 3.
No, it's back to 2.5.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at on Vegas Insider has that. Let me see what is where. So it's 2.5 in like half the books. It's 3 in the other. So it's like 3 in DraftKings and 3 in FanDuel right now. Although -118 plus 3 in FanDuel, but it's only -112 on DraftKings is +3. BetMGM is +3, -115. But there are 2.5s as well. So you kind of get your pick depending on what you want to do. So I think DraftKings is the best price right now. If you like the Panthers, a +3, -112. And then Caesars very close to -113. Yeah, so I wonder if Tristan Wirfs had something to do with this. He's not on the final injury report. So unlike last week, the Buccaneers won't be missing 3 offensive linemen. So that's good news for them, I guess. The bad news is that Baker Mayfield is still injured, and so it's very hard to trust him. Baker Mayfield was on the injury report this week. Obviously, he doesn't have an injury designation, but he was limited to start the week with right shoulder and knee. So never a good thing to hear 2 injuries for the same guy. But yeah, so he's not healthy. And Tampa's defense has been atrocious. They're ranked 30th in EPA in the second half of the season. Carolina, despite last week, I would say playing better. I mean, almost everyone's playing better in Tampa. They were 6-2. Now they're 7-9. So now that we're getting a viable +3, I like Carolina, and I would consider them for a small bet. What do you think for this game?
So there's a lot of things to think about in this bet now in this game. So first of all, I've mentioned this a couple times before. I had a futures on Carolina not to make the playoffs early in the season, multiple times, multiple parlays, teams not to make the season, substantial amount of money. So 3 weeks ago, when I was able to start hedging it, I started playing Carolina to win the division or to make the playoffs at plus 360. I eventually got limited. FanDuel stopped allowing me to bet anything on it. So I played Tampa not to make the playoffs, which is the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm very much hedged out of this game. But I knew going into this game, before I knew about the Atlanta fiasco on Monday, I figured, okay, well, I'm still a little bit heavier towards the Tampa side. And obviously I don't love Tampa, and I don't want to have thousands of dollars on Tampa to win this game. So I knew immediately going into this game, I'm going to immediately bet Carolina at the open, which I did. And the line's 3.5 at the open. So if you like Carolina, you should have had 3.5 in your pocket. Now it was minus 15, but I played it immediately. Then, of course, we learned about the Atlanta situation, and Atlanta, of course, wins the game. So now my plus 3.5 is not a hedge anymore. As a matter of fact, it's a naked bet, because if Tampa wins the game by 4, I'm out the bet on 3.5, and I still don't make the playoffs. So I had to immediately kind of buy out in the form of betting Tampa minus 2.5. So now I have a Tampa minus 2.5, minus 15, and I have a Carolina 3.5, minus 15. So I'm playing the VIG for basically $75 for 1,000, call it, right? I also played the money line right away at plus 160 on Carolina. I bought back Tampa Bay minus 145. And that's the way somebody should play this game, because if you look at this matchup, you can't trust Tampa Bay. They've been awful. They've been in absolute free fall. Coach is going to be fired. I made a joke last week. I said I would have fired him even if they won last week. I would have gone into this game without Bowles as the coach. Bowles has been a disaster. He's been a disaster for a long time, but clearly he's lost the team. And I understand there's injuries, but you can't trust Tampa Bay. So to bet on them, it's just crazy. If you look at Bryce Young, he is god awful. He's had a couple of really good moments. Give him credit. He was great at the end of the Green Bay game. He was solid at the end of the Rams game, although that was more Stafford. But last week, once again, and again, it's against a good defense, but let's be fair here. 14 for 24, 54 yards. 54 yards, that's 2.3 yards per pass attempt. That's embarrassing. That's not bad. Bad is double that. Bad would have been 5 yards per pass attempt. That would be the worst in the league. 2.3 yards per pass attempt. This guy is utterly atrocious. And I went back and I watched the Tampa Carolina game a couple weeks ago. Now, Bryce Young had 2 great plays in that game. So again, we're going to give him credit. But I'm going to fault Bowles, because one of the touchdown passes that was on a 3rd down with 12 seconds to go in the half, Carolina's looking for a field goal. They're just throwing the ball away. They have no timeouts. For some reason, Bowles goes cover 0, blitzes the house, leaves everybody one-on-one on the outside, and good play by Bryce Young. Recognizes it, throws the ball up for grabs, and Ted McMillan touchdown in the end zone. That's 4 points. And later in the game, I think it was either late 3rd quarter, early 4th quarter, Bryce is moving around. He's avoiding pressure. He's escaping pressure, and he throws the ball again. It's 3rd and goal situation. He ends up with a touchdown pass. So they got +4 and +4. That's +8 in a game where they won by 3. And, of course, at the end of the game, Tampa has got a 1st down in field goal range, down by 3, and Baker just, I don't know what he's looking at, throws the ball completely, not even near Evans, not on the same page, throws a pick. Here's what I think is going to happen in this game. I think Tampa is going to win the game by 3. I think if you're betting this game, I would wait. Whoever goes up early, I'd bet the other team, and then I'd hedge it when that team comes back, because I can see somebody being up 7 to 10 points and the game being tied late, because that's what's probably going to happen. This game will be tied late. The Bucs may find a way to lose, but I think what will happen is the Bucs will find a way to win and still not make the playoffs. And we'll talk about the Atlanta game later, and I'm not giving away, the spread, but the funny outcome here would be Tampa winning and still not making the playoffs. And Carolina would backdoor their way in with an 8-9 record and be the worst playoff team with a minus 70 point differential right now to get into the playoffs and maybe play the Rams again, who will just blow the doors off. So if you want to root for a comedy, Tampa will win the game but not make the playoffs, and Carolina will get roasted next week. But I don't like the game. I would lay 2.5 if the line were 2.5. I would take 3.5 if the line were 3.5, and I think Tampa's going to win by 3.
I think that's probably the most likely result, and it's a good point to bet this live. I think that's probably what I'll do rather than bet it beforehand. It just makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you heard our yesterday when we were talking about the worst point differential team in the playoffs in NFL history. It was the 1940 Washington Redskins, who were minus 70, but that includes their playoff scores, and they lost in the Super Bowl like 73-0. So that includes it. So like they had a +3 entering the playoffs. So the Panthers would have the worst point differential of all time entering the playoffs if they were to make the playoffs. So
this is a team. It's funny because right now in my power ratings, I have Carolina worst in their division.
I think I do too. I might have Tampa right below them. I'm not sure. I have the Saints as the best team in that division. Funny enough, and they have the worst record. So
I think the Falcons and the Saints are pretty close. The Bucks are a little bit behind that, and I really don't think there's any doubt about the Panthers. I mean, this team. Let's be fair. I mean, there's a lot of games that you're going to win that you don't really deserve to win, and there's a lot of games that they earned. They earned the Rams game. They won the Rams game, but Stafford threw the ball away. It was a pick in the end zone. It was a pick six. The Panthers earned that game. There's no question about it. It wasn't bad calls. It wasn't a fluky muffed punt or a muffed kickoff. It was just Carolina made the plays. Stafford did not. They're in that. Stafford's in the red zone to tie the game on a field goal, and he gets strip sacked. Sack fumble, game over. So okay, the Panthers won that game. The Panthers beat Green Bay. Panthers beat the Cowboys in a shootout. But they don't belong. This is a 5-win team, and they're being priced like a 5-win team. They're dogs in this game to a free-falling Tampa for a reason. This line hovering between 2.5 and 3 tells you all you need to know. The pros like Tampa at -2.5. The pros like Carolina at 3. The books don't know what to do. And that's going to be the final score. The score's going to be 23-20.
Yeah. I feel like if you get swept by the Saints, you should be automatically excluded from the playoffs. So
this is where we need a committee.
I love this because we're going to get an easy bet on the Rams, as Andy says. Saints and the Falcons. It could be Seattle too, depending on what happens. And speaking of Seattle, we have Seahawks at the 49ers on Saturday night.
Go back 1 second on Carolina, Tampa. Yeah. I'm looking at the weather report, and it looks, and we'll talk about this in a second as well. It says definite rain showers, wind gusts 10 to 20 miles an hour. If there's heavy rain in Carolina, it's going to cause it to be a very heavy run game. And I think that favors Tampa. I want to think it favors Tampa. Vita Vea should play. I want to believe that this team will wake up in this situation, in this spot. Baker will move around, make some plays with his legs. I don't trust Bryce Young running for positive yardage in a rainstorm. I could see him making more mistakes. So pay attention to weather in this game in Tampa. And, of course, now you'll talk next about San Francisco. Also, it says definite rain, wind gusts up to 30, 35-mile-per-hour winds. And we'll talk about how you think that could impact both teams.
Panthers, by the way, 22nd against the run. Tampa Bay 26th against the run. This is numbers in the second half of the season since week 9. But both teams have been awful against the run. And we move on to Seahawks, the 49ers. As you said, weather in the forecast, rain in the forecast, rather. Seahawks are favored by 1.5. They were underdogs to start the week. And I agree with the direction in which this is going. Now, San Francisco's offense has been awesome. It's just not a surprise whenever Kyle Shanahan gets an opponent that has obvious flaws. He can game script around it. Last week, Chicago has no pass rush, and the 49ers scored 42 points. The week before, the Colts can't defend the middle of the field. George Kittle goes insane. Now, he has Seattle here. Seattle is weak to tight ends, but George Kittle is not 100%. And that's it. Like, Seattle has that one flaw defensively. Otherwise, they're the best defense in the NFL. And Trent Williams may not play either. He's questionable as well. He did not practice all week. So if Trent Williams is out against Seattle's pass rush, which is number 2 in pressure rate, by the way, I updated the pressure rate rankings on the site. They are like right behind Denver. They have like 5 fewer pressures than Denver. So they're number 2. So like not having Trent Williams here, or even if Williams plays is not 100%, like that could really hurt San Francisco. And this is a big step up in class for the 49ers, just going with all these bad defenses that they played to Seattle's defense. I think it's just too much here for the San Francisco. And if San Francisco still had its pass rushers like Nick Bosa, et cetera, they could rattle Sam Darnold, but they don't have the players to rattle Sam Darnold. And that's when Sam Darnold loses. He doesn't lose in like big moments against bad defenses. He loses against bad or against like great pass rushes. So I like Seattle here. How do you feel about this game?
Well, as a diehard Niner fan, this game is very hard for me to pick. So obviously, I have my strong rooting interest. So I'll start with power ratings when it comes to handicapping. I think there's no question that Seattle is the better team. I have Seattle 2 points better, which would be on a neutral field, 2 points better. Charles Cross is out. He was ruled out today, so that's a left tackle injury. I think he's worth a half a point to the line. I think the Niners get, I call it 1.5 for home field, which brings me to pick 'em. Kittle and Trent Williams, I think, would each be worth about a point, which if they don't play or if they're not 100%, then I would lean towards Seattle being favored. So I agree with the line. Now, the line is pick 'em, basically. Call it 1.5, doesn't really matter. The problem, I think the Niners can win this game, right? The reality is they can win this game. Obviously, they can win this game. You mentioned the pressure. They get no pressure. We talked about Cam Ward, the guy who holds the ball the longest in the league, leads the league in sacks taken. Niners didn't sack him once. Jacoby Brissett, I've brought up numerous times, had 57 pass attempts. The Niners didn't touch him. Last week, I bet Caleb Williams over rushing yards, expecting the Niners to get pressure. He got over, it was 16.5. On the last drive, he picked up a first down with his legs. And I neglected to realize that he gets a lot of his rushing yards not by design, but by default of being pressured. The Niners don't pressure. So he didn't really have any opportunities to run. So that was a bad play on my part, which got lucky and won on the last drive. So I think this is going to be, take weather out of it for a second, because we really don't know about weather. If the weather is bad, it becomes more of a running game. And the Niners' run defense is very good. It's their pass defense that's a problem. And the Niners can run the football if they have Kittle and Trent Williams. Seattle wants to run the football, but they've been very inefficient running the football. They've been at the bottom of the league on yards per carry. So in a monsoon game where they're not throwing the ball downfield to JSN, that's going to give the Niners a little bit better of a chance. Now, Purdy throws the ball into harm's way. Last week, he was lucky. He threw a pick six, obviously, early. He threw a pick in the end zone that was negated by an illegal hands to the face. And there was a pick later in the game that was also negated by a hands to the face penalty on Chicago. So Purdy's got to be a little bit more careful with the ball, and he's shown that he's willing to make tough passes. He does not have the arm strength to make the passes that his mind believes he can make, but he is a gamer. He's got a lot of confidence, and Shanahan schemes things up very, very nicely for him. The problem is the Niners, for the Niners, is Shanahan punts and kicks. And I could not believe last week, even though it was 4th and 7, and I don't know that they get 4th and 7, but it's 4th and 7 at the 42-yard line, and Shanahan punted late in the game. Did he have confidence in his defense? I guess he did. I don't know why he would have had confidence in his defense. His defense hadn't gotten a stop all night. 35 seconds later, the Bears were right where the Niners punted from.
Yep.
And that's a problem. That's a major flaw that he has in big games. It's been that way for years. I've called this for years. You can't punt in these situations. You can't kick short field goals in these situations. These routinely come back to bite him. But they come back to bite him not every game. So can the Niners win this game? They can. Do I think Seattle is the better team? I do. Am I picking Seattle to win? I have no idea. I wouldn't bet the game. I wouldn't bet the game live. I think there's way too much variance in this game. If you're betting Seattle, you're praying that Darnold doesn't throw some bad picks, even without pressure. Maybe he sees pressure and the Niners simulate pressure. I thought Saleh on the last play of the game against Chicago was fantastic. What he did in that game, and sometimes you have to send pressure, sometimes you don't. Obviously, the Niners can't pressure with 4. But what Saleh did on that last play was he rushed 2. He changed it up, and that's the key. Change it up. Drop more guys into coverage. We saw Lou Anarumo do that with the Bengals a couple of years ago with Cincinnati against Mahomes, where in the second half he was rushing 3 and Mahomes couldn't figure it out. If the Niners could change things up and confuse Darnold into a couple of mistakes, if you're betting on Darnold and you come out of that game and Darnold threw 3 picks, you're thinking, wow, why did I just bet Darnold in that game? He took no sacks, but he threw 3 picks. And that's Salah. We'll see what kind of game plan Salah can come up with. I do worry about the weather. The weather just kind of makes things a little bit more of an equalizer there. But I still have trust that the Niners will come out and put up points, even though it's against a good defense. I have confidence in Seattle scoring as well. I think it could be one of those last man to have the ball. I don't know if it'll be 38, 42-38, but this could be 30-27. And I wouldn't bet the game. If somebody's betting this game, I mean, God bless you. I think this is a total coin flip.
Well, I was planning on betting the game, so thank you for
I'm not trying to talk you out of it. If you have a really listen, I booked my flights already to San Francisco for the championship game, and I did that 2 years ago. So I felt like I have to do it again, just in case we get the 1 seed. We're 1 win away from me going to San Fran for championship Sunday. Mm-hmm. So I booked my flights. I figured, why not? Might as well book them. Everything's refundable. Get a good price flying out New York to the West Coast. So I booked my flights immediately when that game was over. And I just felt like I had to do that because I did it 2 years ago. So you gotta follow suit. It's not a jinx. It's not a reverse jinx. It's what I did 2 years ago. I got to do it again. So I'm going to the game as a fan. I'm not betting the game. I'm not looking to live bet the game. I don't know if there's any real angles to live bet the game. I do think if Seattle's down, that's probably your best bet. Seattle will come back because if you're going to get Seattle plus 7.5, plus 10.5, something in that ballpark, or if you're playing teasers, although if you're playing teasers, I would rather getting a touchdown than there's no value on Seattle plus 5.5. That's a stupid bet. But if you have a live opportunity to bet Seattle getting more than a touchdown, that's a great bet. And if Seattle's down by 10 or 14 at some point middle of the game, maybe even Seattle on the money line because you expect they'll come back and you have a hedge opportunity. But Seattle late or Seattle live is the only bet I would consider making in this game.
Andy trusting Shanahan, Purdy, and Salah over Darnold. Yeah, it's very easy to distrust Darnold for sure. But I trust Seattle's defense more than anything in this game. Like Seattle's defense, the best unit on the field, in my opinion. As good as the Niners' offense has been, I think that's the best unit in this
I
game.
agree with you. And I think the fact that Purdy's putting the ball in harm's way a lot often, he's getting away with it. I mean, he's one of a few quarterbacks this year who have gotten away with putting the ball in harm's way. Hi, Bo Nix, I'm talking to you. And Caleb Williams also. By the way, Caleb Williams last week, there was a play, I forget what down it was, wide open that he just shorted his receiver, walking in for a touchdown. On the last drive where they ended up settling for a field goal, he has a guy walking into the end zone. Missed him.
Yep.
And that's what you're going to get from Bo Nix and Caleb Williams and Brock Purdy, is you're going to get those mistakes that – and even Josh Allen made that mistake last week on the 2-point conversion, just missed a throw. So it happens, especially with weather. Purdy does not have the Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen cannon of an arm. So if he's throwing the ball in wind and bad weather, that worries me a lot. But if he's handing the ball off and throwing screen passes to McCaffrey, I'm good with that. But then I mentioned before the McCaffrey back injury, got to be mindful. He was in and out of the game last week. It could be a lot of Brian Robinson. McCaffrey is an absolute star. We know that. But if he's on the bench and Trent Williams not 100%, Kittle's not 100%, that's a big problem. So I'm hoping the Niners come out with a good game plan to move the ball early and hopefully get a lead early and find themselves in one of those fourth quarter situations where, it may come down to Shanahan punting or not punting, and the Niners getting lucky with a stop at some point. So I wouldn't bet the game. I think you're flipping a coin if you're betting this game.
Okay. Well, I'm good at flipping coins, that people say.
Okay.
No, I do think I like Seattle. Not a lot, but like 2 units, 3 units. I think they are the better. You said they're the better team, and so I like why not bet the better team in a near pick'em situation, especially given that the other team has a lot of injuries. The one thing I would say I wanted to question you on with the Charles Cross injury. You said he's worth. What'd you say? He's worth half a point.
Half a point. See, normally my left tackles are worth a point. But when you have a team that can't rush the passer, when you have teams that can't rush the passer at all, it makes the tackles a little bit less valuable in the game. Mm-hmm. They're worth something. A left tackle is always worth something to a right-handed quarterback. So I have to deduct something. But again, we're splitting hairs because either way the line's under 3. So what do you want to make Seattle 1, 1.5, 2.5? It doesn't really matter. Yeah. I agree with Seattle being somewhere between pick 'em to minus 2.5. Seattle can't be minus 3. If Seattle's -3, you bet the Niners +3. Even if you don't like the Niners +3, that's not a good line. That's a bad line. You got to bet numbers, not teams. So if the line were 3, everybody's betting 3. That's why the line's not 3. But then when the line was 1.5 San Francisco, it flips because the teasers are piling in on Seattle and the money line is piling in on Seattle. So the books have to flip the spread. And that's the correct play. Seattle -1, 1.5 is the correct number, which means to bet it, you're flipping a coin. And if you like 2 to 3 units, I would tell you save the 2 to 3 units, play 1 unit maybe, or play less of what you want. Let's see Seattle go down and then add your unit with a better number. Get 3.5, 4.5. Now the 2 units that you saved on the pregame risk, add it to your stock portfolio. And if Seattle goes up early, you say, "Oh man, I should have won 3 units." Okay, so you won. You profited. You won a unit anyway. You won your bet. So you don't have to win 3 units pregame. Save that equity for better lines mid-game.
Yeah. That was I was going to ask you if you attributed different points to tackles depending on the matchup, and you answered 100%. That. So yeah, absolutely. You answered. So okay.
I mean, if that's against Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, or TJ Watt, it matters a lot more, right?
Yeah. Or Nick Bosa.
Benito, if you have a real pass rush, you need to have a real pass protection. But if you're playing against a team that can't rush the pass, Bryce Huff is the best pass rusher on the team, and he doesn't sniff the quarterback.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of pass rushing talent they've lost this season. It's you wonder like one of these years can they stay healthy?
When they stay healthy and they make the playoffs, they go to the championship game.
Right.
Which tells you they're not going to be healthy. They're not going to win this game. And they're going to get killed by the Eagles. By the way, the advanced line, and I bet this already, the Eagles on the advanced line for next week. And if the matchup doesn't happen, your bet is refunded. Philly is -2.5 against San Francisco next week if they play. That is utterly ridiculous. Okay, I don't know if you can pull up what your power rating would be, but the Eagles are a better team than the Niners. Okay, by a wider margin than Seattle is. I think the Eagles are better than Seattle. That's just me. I would have Seattle favored over San Francisco by at least 4.5. In Philly, because I mentioned the weather that Purdy's not good in. How on earth are the Eagles -2.5 against San Francisco? If San Francisco loses this game, and then the Rams win, and the Niners find themselves traveling west to east, playing against the Eagles, there's no chance that line is not at least 3 to 3.5. You could bet it right now, -2.5 FanDuel, -215 on the look ahead hypothetical line situation.
Yeah.
Everybody should bet that right now. So, and even if you don't like it, first of all, if the matchup doesn't happen, refund. And if it does happen, you can hedge it because that line will, I guarantee you, if the Niners lose, they will end up being more than +3.5. And you immediately will have a middle situation around the key number. Don't say I didn't offer this when we talk about this.
That's, for a second, I was like, Evan, you're crazy. I think 2.5 is reasonable. But then I was like, oh wait, this game's in Philly, not San Francisco.
Right.
I thought Philly at San Francisco. I was like, yeah, 2.5 sounds right. But no, it's at Philly. So I'd make it like 4.5. So
and Philly's resting, and we just talked about Trent Williams and Kittle not being 100%.
Yeah. No,
that's an insane line. That implies that Philly is like a point, maybe a point better. Philly's more than a point better than San Francisco, and in Philly, that's a big home field advantage because the Niners are not going to travel well in that spot. And one thing we'll talk about next week, we don't have to get into it now, is strength of schedule for the season. Now, a lot of that's not going to matter because so many teams that are relatively mediocre with easy schedules, high New England, are going to be playing in the playoffs, right? Now, I think New England's a good team, but one of the things I look to year in, year out is strength of schedule as we go into the playoffs. And the Niners have had just as easy of a card as New England. If you look at the last 5 or 6 weeks, it's a joke. The Niners have played Rivers, Tennessee, Cleveland. Obviously last week the Bears are a better team, but the Niners have played such a joke of a schedule all year. And every single time they've played a good team, they went to Houston, lost. Jacksonville, lost. Rams in the revenge game for the Rams, lost. So, and if they lose to Seattle, it'll be another knock on their schedule resume when they step up in class. Even when they played Tampa earlier in the season, when Tampa was not in free fall, lost. So when the Niners have stepped up in class, they've lost those games. They're not as good as their record is, obviously, but they're good enough to win the game. And if they get that 1 seed, they could make the Super Bowl. If they don't get the 1 seed, they're not winning a playoff game.
Yeah. Yeah, the only Group A and Group B teams the Niners have played, the Rams twice, the Seahawks in Week 1 back when they had everyone,
Right.
and doesn't count, right, and Chicago.
And Chicago is. That was a shootout. They won a shootout. Caleb Williams missed the play, and the Niners had a bunch of penalties on the Bears that went in Niners' favor.
Yeah,
that's what the game came down to. The game came down to the illegal hands to the face that wiped away 2 interceptions, and Caleb missing a throw. And the Bears, while they're better than we think, even though they're not as good as their record, they're still an above average team.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the Eagles, even though the Bears beat the Eagles and knocked me out of Circa. That's not the Eagles. That's a step up in class, and the Niners on the road. I think the Niners will get killed in Philly.
Yeah, I think they lose by a couple of touchdowns. The Eagles conversely played 5 teams in groups A and B. They beat the Lions 16-9. They beat the Bills 13-12. They beat the Chiefs back when the Chiefs were, I think, 20-17. They beat the Rams 33-26, albeit Jordan Davis. And then they beat the Packers 10-7. They're 5-0. 5-0 against these teams.
That's a team that's the only team in the NFC that I don't want to play. The only team. I don't care about playing anybody else. Rams, Seahawks, none of them. None of them bother me. I don't think the Niners will win on the road against Chicago. I don't think they'll win on the road anyway, no matter who they play.
Mm-hmm.
But they could beat anybody at home, and the one team that I would hate to see is Philly. And that's the team that I unfortunately think they might end up seeing if they lose this game, is the team that they cannot win in Philly. They will get killed in Philly.
Yeah, it could be bad weather too. So,
and you should bet right now, if you look on your FanDuel, I wonder if it's still there because I took this a couple of days ago. The hypothetical advanced lines on the NFL.
Yeah,
you can see.
I'm going to pull it up right now. Let's see. Is it like beneath? Yeah, here are some. Yeah, here we go. Not only 2.5, you get minus 105. Look at that.
It's insane.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I'm telling you right now, you could screenshot that for next week because if that's the matchup, I guarantee you, that line is going to be 3.5 or higher. I would tell you, guarantee you 4.5, but I'm gonna be safe and say 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, I think this should be 4.5, like barring some injuries. And by the way, speaking of injuries, Lane Johnson's coming back.
Philly's resting everybody this week. They'll have a full complement of team. They'll be ready to go. They'll be ready to defend their title as they get into the playoffs, and the Niners will be limping into that game. Yeah, unless we win, and then I get to hedge my way towards San Francisco.
Yeah,
flights are booked,
and that'll be Rams Eagles then.
That would be great for me because those are the 2 best teams in my opinion, and then one of them we get knocked out.
What's the Rams Eagles line? I saw it as I was scrolling down. Is this it? Yeah, Eagles Rams are minus 1.5 at Philly. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's probably the correct line. I don't know. It's close. So anyway, we can maybe, if we have time later, we could look at this. Let's get to the rest of week 18 here. We go to the Sunday slate, beginning with Packers at the Vikings. Vikings are favored at 7.5. We finally got some news on the quarterback situation. So unlike yesterday with Andy, we don't have to speculate on who's going to start for the Packers. We know it's going to be Clayton Tune. So
do we know that for sure?
Yes, it was announced. It was announced earlier this morning on a 100% fact check that, but I swear I saw the report unless I was like delirious. I did oversleep, so I missed like the first few minutes of the first game of the Oregon game.
You are correct.
Clayton Tune is starting. Yes.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Wait, hold on. I see Tanner McKee's going to start. Where's this Clayton Tune story?
I found it. I see it.
Oh, you found it. Okay. Yeah. So I wasn't crazy. Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be Clayton Tune here for the Packers. We don't quite know Minnesota's quarterbacking situation because it could be Max Brosmer. But it's looking like JJ McCarthy is going to play because JJ McCarthy was full on practice today. So it's probably McCarthy versus Toon, and in that case, I think Minnesota is an easy bet. The Packers are going to be resting some starters here. We're not going to see Josh Jacobs. We're not going to see Christian Watson. We're not going to see insert like good Packer player. It's all going to be backups and bottom tier starters. So and Minnesota has, they have something to play for, and they're not going to make the playoffs, obviously. But if with the win, they get to above 500, and I think that might mean something to them, given that they've been on this winning streak of theirs, and given that the Packers are going to be a no-show in this game. I mean, if they're starting Clayton Tune, for crying out loud, they're not going to play hard. So you have Brian Flores against Clayton Tune. And a Packer team that's not going to game plan for this game. I think this could be an easy blowout. The only concern I have is like if McCarthy's hand swells up or something, he has to come out and Rosenberg comes in. But still, I'm not going to back off the Vikings because of that possibility. So I like Minnesota a lot here. What do you think?
Yeah, we could spend 20 minutes on the Niner game and 20 seconds on this game, on several games, because power ratings don't matter in Week 18, and this is one of those games where you can't make a power rating, you can't make a computerized line for it, because Clayton Tune's not an NFL quarterback, and we expect the Vikings to want to be above 500. I see no reason why they wouldn't want to finish with an above 500 record. If McCarthy starts, they get another game where they can get some player evaluation, and the team will play hard for him. They'll game plan for the game. They'll certainly want him to succeed. They'll put him in a position to succeed, and LaFleur won't care. It'll be a similar defensive game plan to what Minnesota did last week against Detroit. I think the better bet in this game than laying points might be playing the Green Bay team total under, and then throughout the game, live betting the Green Bay team total under by half, obviously in the first half and then later in the game, because you'll see a heavy dose of running from Minnesota. So as far as getting margin, do I love laying 7-8 points? I don't. What's the contest number in this game? Just out of curiosity, it's 8.5 circa, 7.5 super contest. So, I mean, I made the game 23-6. I don't think Green Bay will score. I had my pick just in case Tune started. I really didn't think that Love was going to play coming off the concussion. Mm-hmm. And given that Love has been in and out with the concussion, and Willis was so good last week, but with the shoulder injury, I don't think you can risk playing him in a meaningless game. I couldn't imagine that they would want him playing in this game. So I don't love laying the points. I would lay the points. From an office pool perspective, there's no question I would take Minnesota. I think the better bet in the game is twofold. One, the Green Bay team total under, and two, Minnesota on a teaser in some capacity. So, but I wouldn't want to have anything tied to Clayton Tune. Yeah,
absolutely not. And I feel like the way you're talking about like power rating this, I think the way you treat this is for this week only, the Packers are one of the worst teams in the NFL.
For sure.
Yeah. So with that in mind, would you want to consider this for?
Yeah, I would consider it. I highlighted this. How many teams did I highlight this week? Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 games. I highlighted 7 games. This is one of the games that I highlighted. I think it's not a bad pick. It's definitely not a bad pick, but again, you're laying points with J.J. McCarthy, who's hurt, or Max Brosmer. Mm-hmm. Now, last week, Max Brosmer had 3 passing yards. 3. He actually had negative passing yards before he had a 10-yard pass at the end of the game.
We should have bet the under. We were talking about it during the game. I was like, at halftime, what do you have? He had like 19 passing yards. I'm like, how does he get to 126 was his halftime line, or 119? I forgot what it was.
I don't even remember.
I was like, how does he get to 119? I don't see it.
I was annoyed because I had some live plays on Detroit getting 7.5 points, and that didn't work because they gave up an end around for a long play. Was that a touchdown or? Yeah, I think it was an end around for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then they ended up losing by more than 7. Brosmer was awful. He was absolutely awful in that game. Yeah. So I could see a similar scenario where you get a 16-10 game. Now, why do I say 16-10 and not 16-3? Because Brosmer could throw a pick 6.
Right.
McCarthy could throw a pick 6. So when you're laying points with those kinds of players, you're asking those guys to score 20 to 23, 27 points. theoretically they can win 16-3, like we saw today in the which college game was that? In the Texas Tech game, who scored 0 points. And I was live betting Oregon minus 12.5, and I live bet Oregon in a shutout. I tried betting Oregon minus 22.5, by the way, at plus 700 when it was 16-0, and the bet didn't go through. And then, of course, they scored on a 4th down at the goal line. But that's what I would look to do in this game. I bring that up because that's the same situation. You saw Texas Tech was not able to move the ball. They were not going to score. I could see a similar outcome here in Green Bay, Minnesota, where the game is 10-0 or 6-0 or 13-6. And if it's 13-6 and you're laying 8.5, not a great bet. But Green Bay under 13.5, 14.5 points might be one fine play. So that's what I would look to do in game, and I would look towards the Minnesota on the teaser.
All right, so I'm gonna put this on the maybe pile.
Put it in the maybe pile, yeah.
All right. The next game is Colts at the Texans. The Texans are minus 10.5. No Phillip Rivers. It's going to be Riley Leonard. Let's throw Riley Leonard to the Wolves against Houston's defense. Should be fun. I don't really see Riley Leonard having any success in this game. And Jonathan Taylor is really not going to run on Houston, especially given that Houston can play close to the line of scrimmage. Defensively, for the Colts, they put DeForest Buckner on IR. So Sauce Gardner has not practiced yet this week, so he's going to be out again. And the Colts might be down another linebacker. So this team is just a mess right now. I think Houston is a good play, minus 10.5. Obviously, they have incentive, so they're not going to be lackadaisical here. I like the Texans. They're not a team that scores a lot, and that's the concern. Laying 10.5 with them, but look, their defense could easily score against Riley Leonard, and if that happens, then the minus 10.5 is going to look pretty good. And plus, last week we saw C.J. Stroud throw 2 bombs against the number 2 defense in the NFL, and he didn't do much after that. But this is a much easier matchup for him. So I like Houston quite a bit. Not one of my top plays, but in the middle tier. What do you think about this game?
I wouldn't lay the points. I think this is more like the Raider game. I know Houston has to win. Theoretically, they can win the division, but I don't look for this team to gain margin. It's still a divisional game. I know Riley Leonard's not an NFL quarterback. You could certainly get your margin. Like they won that Raider game because they had a defensive score. But I can see them kind of sleepwalking through this game offensively. I don't think Indy will give you a great effort, right? Now they're coming on the road. It is Riley Leonard. I don't see much coming out of that team. Again, hard to make power ratings in Week 18. I was surprised when I saw this line over 10. I thought 9.5 would have been a fair line. 10.5 kind of scared me away. For office pool purposes, I take the Colts with absolutely no confidence whatsoever, with absolutely no money whatsoever. So I would be on the Colts side getting 10.5 points and just not really. Again, from a teaser perspective or from a money line parlay perspective, I would be very comfortable with the Texans winning the game. They've been on a roll. I think they want to continue being on a roll. They certainly theoretically could win the division, although they may see Jacksonville up big and you might find some guys taking a seat. I don't trust the team without this kind of offense. I know they had 2 big bombs last week from Stroud in the first quarter, but after that they did absolutely nothing. Again, obviously the Chargers defense is much better than Indy's defense. I could see this game being 23-3. I could see this game being 20-10. I wouldn't lay the points.
You actually made this line 13.5, so I think I'm getting some value here.
You think about the history of the AFC South in Week 18 or Week 17 of the past.
Mm-hmm.
Weird things have happened in these games with bad teams.
Yep.
You think back to Davis Mills knocked somebody out of Survivor. There were 3 people in Week 17 or Week 18 Survivor a couple of years ago, and Davis Mills, it was like a 4th and 20, converted a 4th and 20, and I felt so bad. I'm thinking like, oh my God, somebody has whoever they were playing on the Survivor, and Houston just pulled that out of their bag on a 4th and 20. Davis Mills, like some poor guy just lost $1 million because of that play. So does Riley Leonard pull something out where he converts a 4th and 12 late in the game, and all of a sudden the game is 20-10 instead of 20-3, or 16-10, or the game becomes really close? Houston's offense, if they don't show up, they can look like they did against the Raiders. I'm not laying 10.5 points with that team. Not right now.
Yeah, I could see this game being more like the Houston-Arizona game rather than Houston-Las Vegas game.
Absolutely. I could see a lot of things in this game.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if this game were tied with 3 minutes to go.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I don't know if I've Houston in any of my Survivor, my $10 Survivor entries in DraftKings. I might be on them. I think I don't have Jacksonville available, so we'll see what I do there. But anyway, the next game is Browns at the Bengals. This line is Bengals -7.5.
Browns, Bengals. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. All right,
okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in rotation order, so I have Miami as the next
Yeah.
game, but I see you're in chronological order. So here we go.
Yeah,
Browns.
chronological rotational order is they really screw up this week 18. They should set the rotation after they know what times they are. So anyway, I thought Andy made a great point yesterday on Cleveland's motivation. Now, I initially thought like, okay, the Browns, good play here potentially because they tend to own the Bengals. Myles Garrett in particular is a huge problem for Cincinnati because they can't pass protect, and Myles Garrett just exploits the left tackle and sacks Joe Burrow a million times, and then the Browns either win or keep the game close, like we saw in Week 1. The Browns outgained the Bengals in that game by 200 yards, and they still lost because of some tipped interceptions. But I actually thought, okay, we're going to see a redux of that here. And given that, like Chase Brown may not play, for example. But I was like, on the injury report, I wanted to see at least one tight end for the Browns because they really have no other playmakers, and Cincinnati is dead last against tight end production. But so far we have Harold Fannin, DMP. We have David Njoku, DMP. And as a bonus on defense, Carson Schlesinger, their defense rookie of the year, DMP. So that's not looking good. But then Andy made a great point saying that Cleveland's win last week against the Steelers is kind of like the Super Bowl. That was their big rival. Even though this is an in-state rivalry, like Cleveland hates Pittsburgh more than Cincinnati, and the Browns win over the Steelers might make them flat for this game. I could certainly see that happening. And if they're flat, the Bengals should be able to win by margin, but it's so hard to handicap motivation. Sometimes I think it's easier than some other instances, but here, I don't know. It's just an unknown. And given the other injuries, it's hard to bet the Browns. So this is really 0 units for me either way. I'm torn on this game. How do you feel about it?
Originally, I liked the Browns in the game because I made the line 4.5, and I thought 7.5 was a little crazy. And then I thought about it, like, well, like I said to you last week about Cleveland, they can't score. So I booked them for 13 points last week. What did I say they're going to get this week? Somewhere around 17. So my question really for myself as I'm thinking about the game was, does Cincinnati have motivation to kind of run up the score? I guess everybody offensively wants to pad their stats and score points, but I think there is one person who has motivation. It's Garrett and the players around Garrett. So I think the Cleveland defense will play well. I don't know that Cleveland can score the ball. I lean towards Cleveland plus 7.5. I would not lay 7.5 points with a game where I don't know exactly who has motivation for what. Cincinnati's defense has been better lately, better than what they had been, which is not hard to be better than what they were. So I would say they're somewhat mediocre, but they might look above average when it comes to playing a mediocre or really well below average offense like Cleveland. Now, Shador was horrible last week. Let's make no mistake. He threw up a bunch of punts. A couple of them were picked. A couple of them were dropped. One was actually caught for a touchdown by Fannin. Yep. Now, 3 guys overran that ball. That ball was punted up in the air. 2 Steeler players overran it. Fannin overran it. And then he turned around in midair and came back for the ball and caught the ball and fell into the end zone. So that was a pathetic throw. And then there were a number of other throws that were just absolutely abysmal by Shador Sanders. So he's definitely, I wouldn't say definitely, but I think he's better than Dylan Gabriel, but he doesn't have weapons. Without Judkins, without a healthy Fannin, I can't really ask them to move the ball. We know he's trying, but we don't know how capable he is. Cincinnati, do they care? I don't know. I wouldn't play the game, given that I don't know about the motivation. Again, a team that you can watch in-game, maybe you see Cleveland's trying, and all of a sudden that 7.5 becomes a very good number, and it becomes 4.5 or 3.5, or they take a lead, and maybe Cincinnati comes back and wins, but it won't be by more than a field goal, and you can get Cleveland plus 3.5 in a game that you think they can obviously win the game. That would be what I would look towards in-game, but in all honesty, probably wouldn't look much. Probably would avoid watching this game altogether. I actually have a play on Cincinnati under 6.5 wins, which I took at some point after Burrow I thought was going to be out for the season or potentially out for the season. So I'm rooting for Cleveland to win the game, but other than that, I would have no real opinion on betting it. I would not lay 7.5 points. From office pool perspective, take the points, walk away. But it wouldn't surprise me if this game was 27-7.
Yeah.
Just because I don't trust Cleveland's offense to score points.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, don't say that because Justina Anderson might be watching, so she might block you on Twitter. Look, she blocked me. So anyway, let's get to Cowboys at the Giants. Cowboys are favored by 3.5. Um, Jackson Dart played pretty well last week, and I thought heading into the week initially, I thought, okay, Jackson Dart with all these concussion tests might be kind of in trouble here. But I guess playing the Raiders when they don't try at all is the kind of panacea there. So he played a really good game, and I feel like he should play another good game against Dallas. Dallas defense that made Josh Johnson look pretty decent last week, and Jackson Dart obviously a much better quarterback. Now he doesn't have the weapons that Johnson has. There's no McLaurin. There's no Debo, for example. There's no Corey Krosky-Merritt for that matter. But no, the Giants, they should be able to move the ball here, although Wan'Dale Robinson's could be questionable. He's DMP so far, and maybe he's even out, so just watch out for that. But still, I think back to week 2 when the Giants played at Dallas, when Russell Wilson was the quarterback. It was 40-37. And obviously, we know Jackson Dart is better than Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson was atrocious in the other games this year. So I would take the points here with the Giants. I feel like this is going to be a 3-point game either way. So we're getting the win in both those scenarios. I don't really love this because the Giants have so many injuries. If you look at their injury report, a lot of defensive players like Javon Holland, for example, he is DMP, Abdul Carter, DMP, Cordell Flott, their slot corner, DMP, Theo Johnson, the tight end, DMP, Wan'Dale Robinson, I already mentioned. So Giants have a lot of injuries right now, so I'm not like dying to bet them, but I think this is the right side. What do you think about this game?
There's a wide range of outcomes in this game. If you told me this game was 34-17 Dallas, I'd buy it. If you told me the Giants won the game 23-20, I'd buy that too. I don't know what to make of this game. I made the line 3. I feel like 3 is the right number. I feel like the Giants will, for some reason, continue to screw up their draft position by giving an effort. They clearly gave an effort last week. Dart clearly gave an effort. You saw that with his willingness to run the ball. I don't know who he's throwing the ball to either, but if he's going to make plays with his legs, there's no reason why he can't keep this game close. Dak he loves padding his stats, making himself look good. Does anybody else care on that team defensively? I don't think so. Eberflus came out today or yesterday. So, we had to really adjust our defensive mindset after we traded Parsons. And Parsons is the one who retweeted it. It's like, well, no shit. Really? You had to change your defensive game plan after you lost one of the best defensive players in the league. Well, I would take the 3.5 because I don't know who's going to try. I don't know who cares to win this game. In that case, if I'm getting 3.5, I would take 3.5. I wouldn't bet it.
Okay. All right. We're in agreement there. Let's get to the next game. Saints at the Falcons. Falcons are favored by 3.5. This keeps moving back and forth between 3 and 3.5, but I think that we're going to settle in at 3.5 here because we have news in this game and sad news. From a betting perspective, Chris Olave is going to be out with blood clots in this game. Now, I saw reports saying that he's okay. He was already out of the hospital, so that's good news. But from a betting perspective, definitely not because Chris Olave is really the only weapon the Saints have. Who else is there? There's Kevin Austin Jr. Mason Tipton's even questionable. He hasn't practiced yet this week, so you don't even get Mason Tipton. Rashid Shaheed obviously long gone. There's Jawan Johnson, but the Falcons are decent against tight ends. So really, what does Tyler Shuck have to work with here? It's really a shame because I like the Saints a lot in this game for multiple reasons. I thought that they were the better team. Their defense is ranked 7th. Now Atlanta's defense isn't bad either, but they're 17th. This is dating back to week 9, so the second half of the season. So the Saints had the better defense. They had the better quarterback, in my opinion. Tyler Shuck has been better every single week, and Kirk Cousins is someone you can't really trust. He almost threw the game away on Monday night. Also, Atlanta coming off a short week. We talk about bad teams on short rest all the time. They don't do well because bad teams need more prep time than good teams. And so, let's say Atlanta is a bad team. And so I think they would need that prep time, even though this is a divisional rival. They are playing an unfamiliar quarterback. I know they played against Chuck before, but that was his 3rd start. He's gotten better. So those two angles are bad for the Falcons. And then you have motivation here. We talked about that with Andy. We argued about it. I would like to hear your opinion on it. But I thought Atlanta coming coming off the win against the Rams. I thought that was such a big win for them, like beating an upper class opponent, arguably the best team in the league. And then coming off a short week to play a team that they already beat. I know it's a divisional rival, but still they already beat the Saints about like 5 weeks ago. So I didn't think they'd be up for this game. But Andy thought otherwise, and he made a good argument. But I would love to hear your opinion on that. But as far as this game is concerned, I really like the Saints before at 3.5 or 3. But now with no Chris Olave, it's gonna be it's a tougher ask. I still trust the Saints defense here. I still think it's the best unit on the field, and I still would take the Saints, but at a far less significant bet without Chris Olave. So what do you think about this game?
Well, let's start with motivation. I think you make a good point. Atlanta coming off of a big win is great for their psyche, and I generally don't like teams the week after an upset win, especially an upset win in prime time, because the team comes off that win and they're in a very celebratory mode. So that's not a good spot for Atlanta. But as far as being motivated to win this week, there's no reason why they wouldn't be motivated to win this week. They're playing a divisional rival again. There's no reason why they wouldn't come back to the practice facility and gear up for one more solid play, right? So to say, well, they're going to be totally flat, hard to make that assumption. I agree, generally speaking, an underdog, 7 points or more, that wins outright on a Monday Night Football generally is not a good bet for the following week. So that's Atlanta on the motivational side. New Orleans is playing great football. New Orleans is now, how many games have they won in a row? Is it 4? 4 games in a row New Orleans has won. And Shuck, miraculously, has looked very good in the process. Last week, over 300 yards. Granted, let's see who the wins are against. The free-falling Bucks, Panthers, who are awful, the Jets, who are awful, and the Titans, who are one of the worst teams in the league, not including the teams who have quarterback problems like Kansas City or the Jets in general. Prior to that, they lost against Miami, which was obviously not a very good showing. So I make the line. I still think Atlanta, with all their flaws, I still think Atlanta is the slightly better team. And Olave is a real loss. Olave had 11 targets last week. What do you have? I think 8 catches, 9 catches, 8 catches, 119 yards and a touchdown. 11 out of the 27 targets went to Olave. He's the third down blanket. He's the guy that Shuck has really come to rely upon. Now, Shuck was great, but pretty much a third of his production is going to Olave. So not having Olave in that situation is a big loss. Obviously, New Orleans has been very good defensively. They've been a top 10 defense this year against the run. They pressured Cam Ward 22 times. If they can get pressure on Cousins, that's obviously will bode very well for them in general. So I think defensively they can certainly hold the Falcons to mid-20s, and they can make this a real game. I think they're a live dog, and I was going to say at +3, I kind of like them. At 3.5, I love it. But without Olave, I still like it a lot at 3.5 because I think the line should be 3. I absolutely think they're a live dog to win the game. I think the game could be a field goal game, and 3.5 should be a definitive pick for us from a contest perspective. But not having Olave is something that I do think will be somewhat of an issue in this game when it comes to third downs. And I think that could really show itself. Now, the question really ultimately will come down to, can they get pressure on Cousins, and can they stop Bijan Robinson? If they can't, they're not going to win the game. If they can stop Bijan, they can pressure Cousins, the game will be a lower scoring game. The game could be in the low to mid 20s or high teens to low 20s. Could be one of those 24, 23 type games where the 3 can come into play and they can lose the game by less than 3. I can absolutely see that happening. I don't think they're going to be able to win in a shootout. So if they're giving up 27, 30 plus points, I don't think they're going to get there. Not without Olave.
Okay. So, what do we do from a contest perspective?
From a contest perspective, at 3.5, I like it. From a super contest, is at 3. I don't know if I would take it. At 3.5, I would take it. Because I do think they can win. I think they're a live dog to win the game. There's no question that they're a live dog. Now, I might need the Saints to win given my Tampa Bay position. If Tampa Bay wins, I'll probably come out and hedge a bit with Atlanta on the money line in some capacity. But if Tampa Bay loses and that game means nothing from a playoff perspective, I would go and I would probably bet New Orleans getting 3.5 points.
Okay. So is definite or maybe? What do you think?
Well, let's go through some of the other games. I mean,
Okay.
to me, like I said, there's 7 games on my maybe list, and the Vikings were one of them. I like the Saints better than I like the Vikings because
Okay.
I don't love laying points with an unhealthy J.J. McCarthy or Max Brosmer. Whereas I'm getting 3.5 with what I think is a live dog.
Okay. All right. We'll circle back to that. So the final 1 o'clock game, Titans at the Jaguars. This line is Jaguars minus 13.5 or 13. There's even a 12.5 out there, but minus 115. Vic, don't pay for that. So obviously there's a big talent discrepancy between these teams. We saw that a few weeks ago when the Titans hosted the Jaguars and they lost 25-3. But we have here Jacksonville coming off a bunch of wins, and last week it felt like everything that could have went wrong for them went wrong. It's the Murphy's Law of games. Like they allowed 2 kickoff returns, 2 long kickoff returns that turned into scores. They had a weird backward pitch in the red zone for some reason, which it was a design play. It wasn't like some ad lib play. So that was a fumble. Lawrence threw an interception right before halftime. And there's like a batted ball in the air that like floated right into this like tight end for the Colts' arms. Just like it was such a weird game, and Jacksonville still ended up winning. They still covered the closing line. So this is a really good team. I said before I bet them to win the Super Bowl 20-1 a few weeks ago. So I'm a big Jacksonville fan here. But as far as like the spots concerned, obviously they have to win the game to win the division. But this is a team. They're playing a team that they already crushed on the road recently. And so if I'm Jacksonville, I'm like, oh, this is great. We got through our tough tests. We'll be fine here. Like I feel like that's like almost motivation. So like, and Tennessee's playing better recently. So I think this could be a closer game. Like Tennessee went into San Francisco, and that was a 13-point game. And really right at the end that Shanahan hit one of those field goals to cover the spread. That was one of the most shadiest betting moments of the year. We talk about Raiders, that Raiders field goal against the Broncos. I thought the Shanahan field goal against the Titans was even shadier. So
satisfy the boosters.
Exactly. That was so weird. Like 4th and 1, he all he needed was 1 yard and he would end the game, but he made a 2-possession game. It was like 51-yard field goal. It wasn't even close. So that was crazy. So anyway, Tennessee, let's just call it that a 10-point game. Like Tennessee at San Francisco is a 10-point game, and I think Jacksonville is better than San Francisco, but not that much better. I think this line is it's probably where it should be, and I think Jacksonville could be overconfident here. So I would take the points here, but I'm not going to bet it. Just for an office pool, I would take Tennessee. What do you think?
Well, Tennessee keeps fighting. We know that. You mentioned the Niner game, the Seattle game. Granted, there was a kick return or a punt return for a touchdown. They fought in that game, lost by 6. I see no reason why they wouldn't continue to play hard. They haven't been good, obviously, but they're going to play hard. Now, in their prior matchup, Tennessee was held to 3.4 yards per play. Jacksonville only had 4.8 yards per play, which is not very good, but the game was never in doubt. So I can't fault the team for kind of taking their foot off the gas in the second half and having a lower yards per play average when the game is 25-3. So hard to really kind of fault them for that production. Now, in that game, though, they couldn't run the ball. That was a little bit more concerning to me because they only had 2.6 yards per carry. So that's something where if you have the lead and you're trying to hold the lead, you need to be able to run the football. If they can't run the football and they can't sustain margin, the back door is open from a team that's going to try. And like you said, I don't think Jacksonville necessarily will take them seriously. To me, Jacksonville goes into the game assuming that they've already won. They're going to win the division, and they're looking forward to a playoff game. Really tough to ask them to cover that kind of spread in this situation, in this spot. That being said, I lean towards the Titans. I would not bet it. This game, I could see this game being once again 25-3 or 34-10. It would not surprise me if Lawrence came out and was on fire, and they did exactly this week to the Titans what the Patriots did to the Jets. Now, I do think Titans have shown more life and more fight than what the Jets have shown, but Jacksonville's playing great football. And if they wanted to, if they want to keep their foot on the gas and come out and throw downfield and attack, they could put up 30 points easily and cover this line. I just don't think they care for that. I think they want to win the game, keep everybody healthy, run the football, run the clock, if they're up by 14, 17 points late, they'll be very content to run the football, run the clock. And Tennessee on the back door, 13 and a half, 12 and a half. It's a lot of points. So I would lean to take the points. I would not bet the game.
You just mentioned what a weird stuff in the AFC South in Week 18.
Yep.
What if there's like Shamari DK returns 2 kickoff returns and suddenly Tennessee's up 14-10, 14-0. That would be that I'd be worried for my Jacksonville.
One of those games is going to be stupidly close.
Yes, yeah, I think so, and I think this one is going to be closer just because. Cam Ward has not been good this year, but I trust Cam Ward more than Riley Leonard. Like Riley Leonard's not an NFL quarterback.
Cam Ward has made a couple of really nice throws. Last week he made a crazy throw, kind of falling down, looked like Mahomes.
Yeah.
Thrown to the ground, and that was called back. I forget why that was called back.
His knee was down. I remember.
Yes, okay. His knee was down when he let go of the ball, but it was a great effort. And it was just one of those things where he continues to hold the ball for too long, and if he does that in this type of game, he's going to get sacked. He's going to take hits. Now, I do think one of these games might end up being very close. That being said, I'm still betting on it heavy. Moneyline parlay or 10, 13-point teaser, Houston, Jacksonville, and then we'll get to the other games that I'm throwing into that mix. But if they lose, so be it. You lose the bet. But I will bet heavy that Jacksonville and Houston and 2 other teams will come out of this week with a win. Jacksonville was my survivor team. I was saving them all along for this particular game, in a game where I thought they would have to win for a playoff spot, for a division, or dare I say a 1 seed at some point. This was the team that I would have had, and I would have been in Vegas right now. And knowing what I know and with the money on the line, I would have thrown $250,000 on the spread, maybe $50,000 to $100,000 on the Tennessee money line, just because of the equity obviously involved. But somebody said to me when I told them that, they said, why would you do that? If you're in this situation, you have a 13-point favorite. I said, so? Have you not watched the NFL in the last 20, 30 years? You've never seen a 14-point favorite lose? 14-point favored by 14 for a reason.
Yep.
So I would have gone out there, and with the credit line that Circa offers, would have absolutely hedged heavy Tennessee team total over, Tennessee a little bit on the money line, Tennessee with the spread, and thrown away a couple of dollars and maybe try to get some middle somewhere. But I do think Jacksonville will win the game. Wouldn't lay the points.
Yeah.
We'll take the points for office pool. Will not be surprised if Jacksonville, for some reason, like last week, finds themselves in a close game.
I say double down. Bet the credit line on Jacksonville minus 13.5.
I don't think they would let you, by the way.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
They wouldn't let you. They're not giving you a credit line for fun. They're giving you a credit line against the equity.
I'm saying this is someone who doesn't bet more than $25 on the 8-to-1s. So.
Okay. You mean not somebody who has $3 million of equity on the line?
No. I agree. I think that's a good strategy. I don't see how you don't do that in that situation for sure.
Well, it really depends. I mean, there are a lot of people in those contests that listen. Their entry fees are their entry fees, and they don't really care about the equity. A lot of these guys are professional poker players or big time investment bankers, hedge fund people, or people who have partnership. And don't necessarily care as much about their stake. It's not a huge amount of money to some of these folks.
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody like you and me, if we have a chance to win $3 million, there's no question that I'm going in there and hedging. Big time.
Yeah. 100%. Spanky says, Happy New Year, Walt. Happy New Year, Spanky. Thoughts on Quentin Lake extension? I didn't see the financial details on that.
I think it was like $45 million guaranteed.
Was it 45? When I checked,
it was a big number.
When I checked, it wasn't available. So I didn't write it up for that reason. I was waiting for the financials. So, I mean, Quentin Lake's been awesome this year. I'm not usually one who wants to pay safety a lot of money. It's not like a premium position, like an edge rusher or a number 1 corner, et cetera, or an offensive receiver, left tackle, et cetera. It's like one of the secondary positions, even like tertiary positions at this point. And there's a reason why like safeties on the open market are just sit there for like months. So like, no.
Wait a second. Are you worried about the cap?
No,
the cap is fake.
Cap is absolutely fake. Yeah, the cap is only fake if your owner doesn't spend money. If your owner doesn't spend money, then the cap is a real thing. I'm not sure where. I guess the Rams are pretty open to spending money. So from that perspective, I think it's fine. If like the Bengals did this, I'd be like, this is a terrible move because like Mike Brown's not going to spend the money elsewhere.
Right.
But with the Rams ownership, the Rams tend to be aggressive with that. So yeah, it's look, it's not a bad move.
Well, the Rams owner is also the wealthiest owner in the entire league.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe the Walton family is up there, but I think Kroenke is, if he's not the richest owner in football, he's in the top 3. He's certainly willing to spend.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, if he's going to spend, that's fine. So it's not a bad move. Obviously, I mean, Lake's a real good player, and given that the Rams spend money, it's a fine move. I wouldn't grade it as an A or anything, just because I think safeties are deserve less money, but it's definitely not worse than a B. So it's probably like a B or B plus in my opinion. So yeah, you're welcome for the help, Spanky. Once again, Happy New Year and Happy New Year, everyone. If you guys didn't hear us at the beginning of the show,
I just saw that Lane Kiffin got a $500,000 bonus for Ole Miss winning this game tonight from LSU. Is that true?
Did he really? I don't. Is
that true?
That's fine. That's funny if it is. I don't know. It's like from the Onion or something.
Lane Kiffin received a $500,000 bonus from LSU after former team Ole Miss beat Georgia in the CFP, due to an agreement in his new contract that matched his old Ole Miss incentives.
Interesting. Okay. Makes sense. Okay. I can see that. Yeah. Makes sense.
He earned $150,000 for making the CFP, $250 for the first round win, $500,000 to the semis. He gets $750 for the championship and $1 million to win it all.
Wow. That's good. Good for him. He posts some weird things on social media. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. All right, let's get to the next game, and I suspect this is in your money line parlay that you mentioned before. Dolphins are at the Patriots. This is the beginning of the 425 slate. Patriots, they will be playing hard, I suspect, even though the Chargers announced that they will rest their starters. The Patriots could play for the 1 seed, and you never know. Now, we could know by halftime, and they could pull their starters by halftime. But if this is anything like the Jets game last week, then they'll have this game covered by then. We have Quinn Ewers starting for the Dolphins once again. And as I said yesterday, this is the we talk about how like Tua doesn't like to play in the cold. Quinn Ewers was born in San Antonio. He started in every game in college for the Texas Longhorns, and he started every game thus far in the NFL in Miami. So he had 2 home games to start. Now, this is his first start ever in 20-degree weather here. And Miami, as we know, doesn't like to tackle in cold weather. Making things even worse for Miami, Devon Achane has not practiced yet this week. DMP. So, if Achane's out, how does Ewers score? Does he throw to Theo Wees Jr.? Is that like the main threat here? The Patriots should be able to score on every possession. Miami's defense cannot stop the pass. They're good against the run, but against the pass, they're just lost. And I believe Miami's pretty bad against mobile quarterbacks, if I remember. Yeah, they're in the bottom 10 allowing production to mobile quarterbacks. So that's obviously bodes well for Drake May. Yeah, this is an easy pick for me. Patriots minus 10.5. Even if they sit their starters in the second half, I still think they could cover this number. What do you think about this game?
Well, if Achane doesn't play, then this game is going to be an absolute massacre. And I think this game is going to be a massacre as it is. So I love the Patriots in this game. I see no reason why they wouldn't give you a good effort, at least for the first 2.5 quarters, just like last week. And it's not just Tua and Ewers. You mentioned the Dolphins do not like to play or tackle in cold weather. Now, you have a team that's one of the top passing teams. Drake May is throwing the ball downfield. Vrabel may want to look to pad some of those stats to kind of solidify a potential MVP case. And Miami is coming off of a win. So, like the Falcons, who are coming off of a win, I don't think Miami's in a good spot now where they have to travel to cold weather, possible snowy conditions, icy, windy conditions. This is not a Miami spot by any stretch of the imagination. I think McDaniels kind of has earned the right to stay. I don't think he's been the problem. I mean, I know we made fun of him earlier in the season, but he really hasn't been the problem. This team is void of talent. They have no quarterback. Their defense is trash. And outside of really Achan and Waddle, they don't have a lot of playmakers on this team. So I think they're going to draft a quarterback. I see no reason why they would get rid of McDaniels. I think they know he's got the position locked up. And I don't see them giving a good effort in this game. So this line, 10.5, I thought this line would be closer to 14, just given what we saw last week with New England and their propensity now to throw the ball downfield and kind of run up the score, at least for 2.5 quarters. I think they'll do the same thing here. Even in cold weather, I could see them putting up 35 plus. I don't see Miami getting anywhere near that. So I think this is a 3-touchdown or more blowout. I love the Patriots.
We agree on the line. I have Patriots minus 14.5 as my line. So this is on the wrong side of 14, which is actually the fourth most likely result of any NFL game. It's interesting enough.
And that handicap is with HM playing because I didn't know HM wasn't going to play.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, maybe he returns for full practice or something tomorrow. But yeah, so far.
Yeah, but why would he, right? Because he's one of their bright spots. If he's got somewhat of an injury, there's no reason to play those guys. There's just really no reason to play them. The guy is hurt. If he's hurt and any risk of further damage, that's one of those players. There's no reason to run him out there. What are you proving? Unless he has some incentives, which I don't think he does, because I put together my chart and I don't remember seeing his name on the list.
He's not on the list, no. So, there's no reason. I think Theo Wees Jr. is going to be their top playmaker in this game. It's just very sad.
To me, the handicap is really very simple. New England's going to put up a lot of points. I would book New England for 30 plus. Mm-hmm. I don't see Miami getting anywhere near that.
Yep. We agree on that. So I'm going to put in the definites. Okay, let's get to the next game. We have Chiefs at the Raiders. Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites. I like the Chiefs earlier in the week just because we know the Raiders are trying to lose intentionally. So how do you not bet against a team that's trying to lose intentionally, right? But the Chiefs suddenly they have the flu going on in the locker room. So anytime we get a team with the flu, it's a hard avoid for me. Last week we had the Packers had the flu, and I was completely off that game.
And the Bears. You pointed out
the Ravens. Yeah, Bears had the flu, although it sounded like it subsided by kickoff. And then what was unknown to me was that the Jaguars also had the flu, and that another Murphy's Law type of thing, because it wasn't really on the injury report, but Liam Cohen after the game said that we had some guys battling sicknesses this week. I'm like, well, why isn't that on the injury report? so the three flu teams from last week didn't cover the spread. Now this is a unique situation because the Chiefs are playing a team that is just not competitive at all. Like they got blown out by the Giants, so. How are they going to stay close to the Chiefs if the Chiefs put forth any sort of effort? And I guess maybe the Chiefs mailed this one in, but, they don't have a lame duck coach. Andy Reid's coming back. This is Travis Kelce's final game. Now, maybe last week's game meant more because it was the last home game, but still, this might be his last game. They might want to get him a touchdown or something. I would still be on the Chiefs, but given the flu in the locker room, I don't think I'm going to bet this one. What do you think?
Take the under and don't watch. I would not lay 5.5 points with a team that last year in this exact situation scored 0.
Yep. And
I would not take the Raiders, who have clearly quit and are not playing anybody. They obviously don't want to win the game. They won't let the team win the game. But when you can't have a power rating for this type of game. These are the two worst teams in the league given their current situations, besides for the Jets. And you can't make the line 5.5. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, can they win the game by a touchdown? They can win the game 6-0 and cover this game.
Yep.
That's why I love the under. I don't think either of these teams is going to give any effort. I think both of these teams are going to look to run the ball, run the clock, run, punt. You're going to see a lot of punts. You're not going to see a lot of aggressive play calling. You're not going to see a lot of downfield. I know you're going to see Aiden O'Connell at some point. Pete Carroll said you're going to go from Pickett to O'Connell, and you have Chris Oladukin on the other side. And they may want to throw the ball to Kelce. Maybe the play is to play Kelce to get a touchdown because if he's in the red zone, maybe they'll pepper him with a couple of targets. But Kelce's a shell of himself. They have no run game. They have no offensive line. The Raiders also don't have an offensive line. To me, this is run the ball, run the clock, low scoring, under 36 points, and don't pay attention.
Yeah, 6-0. What if we get 6-1? That'd be awesome. I would love to see 6-1. That would definitely be a scoregami. All right, we have Lions at the Bears. Bears are favored by 3. Still confused about this spread. The Lions have been awful recently. Their defense is atrocious, and they suddenly have issues with the offensive line. They can't block, and Penei Sewell has not practiced yet this week. Not that that matters too much against the Bears, because the Bears don't have a pass rush of any sort. They have the second fewest pressures in the NFL. Do you know who has the fewest pressures in the NFL?
It's not the Niners?
They have the 5th fewest.
Wow. Okay. No, I
Yeah.
don't know who has the fewest.
It is our Carolina Panthers. Of course, like not only the worst point differential, but also the fewest pressures in the NFL going to make the playoffs. So anyway, yeah, Caleb Williams, despite some mistakes here and there, he's still he's playing better right now. And as Andy pointed out yesterday, it's a big revenge game for the Bears because the Lions were running up the score in week 2, just throwing in the fourth quarter and trying to score 50 points, in which they did. Yeah, Detroit. Detroit's playing outdoors here. Jared Goff, as we know, outdoors not good, and a dome team playing in 20-degree weather. So it's not a good situation here, especially given how their season has gone. Like they were eliminated from the playoffs not too long ago, and kind of have to wonder about the motivation here. Usually you don't worry about motivation with Dan Campbell because he motivates teams, but in this situation, this could be a complete no-show for Detroit. And we know Chicago's going to try hard because they want the 2 seed. They're playing the starters. So I like Chicago here. Minus 3 seems way too low. I have this lined at 4.5 by my numbers. So what do you think about this game?
I also have this line at 4.5. This is my number 1 pick on the board. I think this is going to be an ugly game for Detroit. I think Chicago's got a lot of reasons why they're going to come out and be motivated. First of all, coming off of a loss, I think they want to get back on the winning track. So they're going to come home, they'll prepare, and they definitely want to lock up the 2 seed. Massive difference there for them. If they get to play a banged-up Green Bay team again, and if they get to get that 2 seed, I think that really bodes well for their confidence going into the postseason. But they got blown out by Detroit in their first matchup. And I think that really matters. Detroit put up 50 on them a couple of months ago. So you got Ben Johnson, who knows that. I don't think Detroit cares now. They already beat them. They already beat their ex-coach. I don't think there's real motivation for them because it's Chicago. If you heard the press conference last week after that game, it really sounded sad. Like Dan Campbell sounded like a beaten man, talking about, well, I expect my team to come out and play hard because they're football players and they're professionals, and I want them to come out. Just give me one last good effort. Generally, when that happens, when a team that has high expectations for a season gets eliminated, we saw this with the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. They get eliminated from playoff contention. They get blown out by Tennessee. Detroit is eliminated. They didn't play defense. They refused to tackle against Pittsburgh. They gave up 200 yards rushing against Pittsburgh. They come out last week. They lay an absolute egg offensively against Minnesota. They weren't bad defensively in that game. They gave up that one long end-around run. Otherwise, the defense was better, but the offense was pathetic. Now they're eliminated. And you talked about Jared Goff now in cold weather. It's going to be 25 degrees, maybe snowing in Chicago. Outdoors, snow, wind, poor conditions, team coming off of a bad loss. Is that defense all of a sudden going to want to tackle? They didn't want to tackle Jalen Warren. They're going to tackle Swift and Mononga? I don't think so. So I make the line 4.5, but I think this game is going to be a 14-plus point win. It wouldn't surprise me if it's worse than that. I don't see Detroit giving any effort at all in this game.
All right, we're in agreement. Going to put this on the definite pile. So we have 2 definites, 2
and
maybes.
Andy says to finish with a winning record. Detroit didn't make the playoffs. A team that had, like the Saints, for example, a team like the Saints would love to have a winning record. Now they can't. Obviously, they're not at 8-8.
Right.
Pittsburgh is a team that always wants to have a winning record.
Vikings.
Vikings. Yeah. Detroit is a team that was a 15-win team last year and got upset in the divisional playoffs, kind of en route to the Super Bowl. And to them to come back home and think, I want to finish with an above 500 record, I promise you there's no chance that anybody in that locker room thinks that way. They're all mentally depressed for being eliminated the way they were. And you heard it in their tone. You heard it after their game in their conference, in their press conferences. They're a dead man walking. They just want to finish out the season. Now, if they were at home Maybe there's a little bit more motivation playing in front of their fans, but here they're on the road in the cold outdoor weather where they're historically not very good. I don't see it at all. And flip that on the other side, Ben Johnson knows his team, his ex team, beat him by 50. Sorry, by 30. They put up 50 against his team. I think he might want to return the favor. I could see him running up the score. I could see them keeping their foot on the gas late. I don't see Detroit listen, I think Detroit's the better team, all things being equal, just not this week. With the motivation and the situation in general, I had to lower my power rating on Detroit to be lower. Previously, 2 weeks ago, I had Detroit at one of the top teams in the league. I had Detroit in the top 7 2 weeks ago. If you remember when we started playing around with the playoff machine, I was trying to figure out a way to get Detroit into the playoffs if they beat Pittsburgh. And if they won last week against Minnesota when they were favored by a touchdown, they could have theoretically been playing this game for a playoff spot over Green Bay. Mm-hmm. And if they got into the playoffs, and by the way, I would have picked them to win in that situation. If they had to win this game, I would have probably picked them. And I would have picked them in the playoffs next week against Chicago if they were playing in a playoff game. But given the situation, they feel like a dead man walking. I don't see the energy. I don't see the preparation. And I don't think they're going to have any interest in that game once the weather is what it is. I think Chicago's going to run him out of the building.
Yeah, I agree. Bears could be an alt line play. And he says, what are you thinking? 13.5? Is that a good number?
I wouldn't bet it pregame. I would bet it live, not pregame.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough.
And Andy makes a point about it, the Vikings being a 4-2-1 season, but that's a different team. This is McCarthy.
Yeah.
I think this is a younger team, right? I don't think this is the same 14-win team that they had last year. This is now a garbage quarterback that they need to get some wins under his belt and some more experience under his belt. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's a motivation for them to win to be over 500. I think they want to play well if McCarthy plays because they want to continue his evolution as a quarterback.
Yeah, and they've been had playoff aspirations for a few months here. Like right. they knew in the London games that when they lost to Pittsburgh, I think that they kind of knew that this is not a good team, and then they kept losing after that.
Detroit's season just spiraled, and this was a top team. I told you from day one, you were not on Detroit. I was, and I said even after that Chicago game earlier in the season, I said, you see, it's not Ben Johnson. It's not the problem. The problem is not the coaching. The problem is just, the defense got banged up. Kirby was hurt. Kirby Joseph was hurt. Branch got hurt. But you know what? I was wrong. You know why I was wrong? Because Dan Campbell is an awful offensive coach. He needs to hire an offensive coordinator who could be more creative on fourth downs. Their fourth downs are a joke. And by the way, I love the aggressiveness. I love it. I wish Kyle Shanahan, gun to my head, I would say, when in doubt, just go every single time. I would rather you go every single time blindly than not go at all. But Dan Campbell needs to be careful with that because he blindly goes for fourth downs every single time. They lost the Eagles game because of it. Now, a lot of those, I agreed with going for it at the time that he did. But he needs to think big picture. Sometimes you need to put points on the board. Sometimes you do need to punt. And other times, when you go for fourth downs, you need to be a little bit more creative. So I thought last year, obviously with Ben Jay, they were very creative. This year, they were a disaster. Nothing creative about what they did. Really pathetic. And the offensive line was bad all year. The offensive line was a strength of this team for multiple years. This year, it was bad. So they had injuries. They had guys in and out of the lineup. And defensively, obviously, they had injuries. But I think overall, the biggest issue with Detroit was the offensive play calling. That needs to be fixed because I have some line fan friends and family members in my life who all want Campbell fired, which I think is a little pushing it. He's been great for Detroit. Mm-hmm. I would definitely not fire Dan Campbell, even though I said it as a joke last week. Fire the guy. He needs to fire himself as OC,
right,
and maintain his position as head coach.
Yeah, let's tell those Lions fans that remember what happened before Dan Campbell, all those bad years. Let's not fire this guy because of one bad year. Also, the Lions players. This is the first time in 3 years they're going to be on vacation in January, so I think they're going to be looking forward to their flights to insert the tropical island rather than playing this game. Andy says Vikings similar spot as the Falcons playing at home with current form momentum. I'd say the difference there is that the Vikings definitely do not have a lame duck coach, whereas the Falcons, we don't know if Raheem Morris is going to be back. Like there's
no way Raheem Morris can come back. That's insane.
Yeah,
He's so bad.
Well,
He is
the
so
the
bad. He
the
is such a
argument
bad coach.
the argument is that the owner likes him and might bring him back, which obviously makes Arthur
But
Blank
they
look like
underachieved again.
right, right. It would be idiotic if they brought him back, but
That's crazy. There's no way they can bring him back.
yeah, yeah. So that
He's
yeah,
one of the
that's
worst coaches
yeah,
in the league.
he's
And they have
terrible.
a young quarterback. He's a defensive coach. They need to hire an offensive coach in Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Okay, let's get to the next game. We have Jets at the Bills. This line has gone down. It was 7 yesterday. Now it's 6.5. This is another potential flu game. The Bills, I see on the injury report, have 4 illnesses, and anytime I see 3 or more, that sets off red flags. And we knew the Bills were going to sit some starters anyway. Josh Allen definitely not going to play with the foot injury. Like, I'd be shocked if he played. We're going to see some backups here for the Bills if Josh Allen doesn't go. And really, like, why would they? Like, it's the difference between the 7 and the 6 seed if Houston wins. So and their backups could probably beat the Jets anyway. The Jets, like, think about it this way: like, would you rather have Trubisky or Brady Cook as your quarterback? Like, it's obviously Trubisky. He's not a good quarterback by any means, but he's a career backup. Brady Cook is not going to be in the NFL in 2 years. The Jets' defense is awful. Some of their Bills' backups could be better. The Jets can't block, et cetera, so on and so forth. And the Bills' backup receivers, you're talking about like Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis. These guys are just as good as Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie. So like what exactly are we talking about here with the Bills backups like that? I think they could still win. As far as covering though, I think I would still pick them because I really don't want to have anything to do with Brady Cook, the chef as we call him here. But given the flu situation, that makes me think twice about that. So I think this is a tough game to pick. Personally, I still would go with Buffalo, but I'm not excited about it. What do you think about this game?
I have no idea. I don't know who's playing for Buffalo at all.
Right.
Was James Cook playing in the game? I don't think Josh
No.
Allen's going to see the field, although he may want to keep a streak alive. Starting games, maybe he comes in and takes a snap and hands the ball off and goes to the bench.
Yep.
But he's not going to do anything productive, obviously. If this were the Bills at full strength, I made the line 17.5. I did. I was thinking, what would I make the line if this line were a legitimate game? And I came up with 17.5, and I would probably take the Bills. And not having Allen in the game obviously makes the line significantly different. But who's playing running back? Who's playing tackle? Who's playing on defense? Who's in this game at all? I can't see Bosa playing. Allen's not going to play. If Allen's not playing, I don't think you're going to get a bunch of offensive linemen who will probably sit. Cook is terrible. Cook has been the gift that keeps on giving for us over the last couple of weeks. I don't see how anybody bets this game. I have a futures ticket on Buffalo over 11.5 wins.
I do too.
It's actually bad odds. Like I'm laying minus 150 on it. So, and it's a pretty big bet. So I did play a little bit Jets money line as a slight hedge just to kind of cover myself a little bit. And I played plus 9.5 when the line was 9.5. I took a little bit more at plus 7.5 just in case. So I don't want to have so much risk on a team without any of its starting players in the game. I have another one of those hedges coming up on another game we'll talk about. I'm rooting for the Bills to win by less than 7. I have no idea how one handicaps a game where you have no idea who's playing in the game. But if we see Buffalo, even as their backups, running away with the game, and the Jets look like they did last week, which is kind of dead man walking, no ability to move the football at all, maybe you play a live Jets under, team total under. Take a look at the weather. The weather is supposed to be bad in Buffalo. You take a look at the weather here and see if there's anything of note. It just says 21 degrees, slight chance of snow showers. So if you see some bad weather and Jets unable to move the football, that's what I would look toward. Jets team total unders. But I'm not laying points with Mitch Trubisky and a bunch of third stringers against the other team third stringers. No interest. Not laying points in those games. Similar to the Dallas Giants game, not going to lay points. Or Cincinnati, Cleveland. I can't lay points with teams when I don't know who's really playing. It's like an exhibition game. Would you lay points in the preseason? You can't. So Raiders, Chiefs, same idea. Give me the Jets plus 7.5 for office pool purposes at 7. Wait for the game to start. Watch the Jets falter. Bet the team total under.
Jets have been outscored by 107 points in their last 4 games.
Listen, if they were in the NFC South, they might win the division.
That's true. That's true. They'd be battling right now, 3-way tie.
Battling Carolina.
It's sad. Very sad.
By the way, when the Jets played Carolina, the game was close, if you remember.
It was
13-6.
Oh, so 14. Right. Yeah.
13-6. The Jets almost beat Carolina. They almost beat Denver. All these playoff teams, the Jets are playing close games against.
Yeah.
Look at them.
That was the game where they punted on fourth down.
Yes, with 2.5 minutes to go, they punted.
Yeah, and they never got the ball back. Yeah.
Maybe Kyle Shanahan sent them a message to have confidence in their defense.
Right. It's exactly what happened.
They thought they would have a better chance of getting a stop and getting the ball back, and then without timeouts, driving the length of the field and picking up 10 yards and then driving the length of the field.
Right. That was so stupid.
But they gave Aaron Glenn a vote of confidence.
Yeah, the Woody Johnson likes him. So, same thing with Raheem Morris. They like these guys. I don't know why. They like cool to hang out with. Are they like good drinking buddies? Like, I don't know. Like, why do they like these guys? They can't coach, but we like them. So I don't know. Anyway, we have Redskins at Eagles. This line is Eagles -4, 3.5 -120 at FanDuel. I mentioned this yesterday, and then you chided me for it. I bet the Eagles. I sat there. I bet the Redskins +7, knowing that I could probably middle this. You said you had 8.5, but I couldn't. I couldn't submit my pick that early because I didn't have the write up on the site yet. So. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Eagles to -4, try to middle it with Redskins +7. I think there's a decent chance the Eagles win by 4, 6, or 7. So I would take the Eagles at this number, even though their backups are playing. Tanner McKee is just better than Josh Johnson. Tanner McKee's one of the best backups in the NFL. The Eagles have good backups. Like their backup running back, it was the starter for Jacksonville last year. They have like Grant Calcaterra is productive when Dallas Goedert's injured. They have they're very deep on defense. So like some of their defensive backups, there could be starters on other teams. Like we saw like last year, Milton Williams was he was a rotational guy, and like he signed a huge contract with the Patriots. Like the Eagles draft so well that they're so deep. And so like their backups could just dominate this game. Maybe not quite dominate, but win by 7, 10, something like that, against a Washington team that can't play any defense and can't really score with Josh Johnson. I like the Eagles at -4. What do you think?
This line is coming into the territory where I hear your point, because I immediately bet this at 8.5. Again, similar to my Bills, I have a future on the Eagles over 11.5 wins, and when they won last week, now I have an opportunity to win both of those games. So I hedged. I played the +8.5. I played Washington +370 on the money line. I played Washington +7 as well, in addition to the 8.5. I'm not going to play it back, obviously, because I already have the Eagles to win the game on my futures ticket. Mm-hmm. I think this game is going to be a field goal game. I think the +4 is a good number. Like I said, we're getting into a range where I hear your point on the middle. I hope you're heavier to the 7 than you are the 4. And sometimes, just as a teaching moment, when you already have +7, if you're trying to middle it at the -4, the market rate now is 4. So your discount essentially is your 7. You should never play more than a 50% of your bet playing back the other way. Mm-hmm. Right. And the reason for that is you're playing a market number at an even price, and you're basically nullifying your discounted price. So your discount price is a good number. Let it ride. Now, if you want to hedge because you actually like the hedge in the middle, or because you have an outrageous amount, not an outrageous, but you have a higher than normal risk amount on your 7, and you want to kind of mitigate some of that risk, and play back some of your bet on the -4, not all of it. So hopefully you're heavier towards the better price than you are towards the market price. That said, I don't know who's going to win the game. That's why I would kind of take the 4. I feel like this is going to be a 3-point game. I hear what you're saying. Tanner McKee could be just as good, if not better, than Josh Johnson. The Washington defense is a joke. But who's playing on the Eagles? Is Jalen Carter playing? Probably not. Is Jordan Davis playing? I doubt it. Is Lane Johnson playing? No way. Maybe they want to give him a couple of reps, but he's not going to play significant time. No reason to do that. So, and what's the game plan going to be like? Again, vanilla game plan. Somebody who's going to go into this game, let's not get hurt. Let's stay healthy. Let's get ready for next week. It's very unlikely that they get up. Well, I shouldn't say unlikely. The Bears are only a 3-point favorite, but it's pretty clear that Sirianni does not care about this game. And if he doesn't care about this game, I can't lay the points with them. So I lean to the Redskins. I like the Redskins at plus. I like them a lot at +7. +4, like I said, we're getting into the territory where I hear your hedge position, but I still think this is going to be a 3-point game. I think it's going to be relatively lower scoring given the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Again, East Coast weather, Philadelphia, 36-degree forecast, slight chance of rain. I wouldn't want to be laying points in a bad weather Eagles game where the Eagles could easily go the entire second half without completing a pass or just be content with run, punt. Just not a situation I want to be on. But then again, I wouldn't want to bet on Josh Johnson either. So the only reason I'm betting the game is because I'm playing the middle on the futures ticket. You're playing the game because you got a 7 and a 4. If you don't have anything on this game and you're completely naked going into the bet, why would you pick either side? It doesn't make any sense. So from that perspective, either we take the points or we walk away.
Yeah, I'm just like looking at the Eagles depth chart, and I'm like looking at the backups, like those guys are better than the Washington starters.
You have to be careful when you say the word better, because better doesn't really matter. There can be better, but are they giving you an effort that's better? Are they giving you a game plan that's better?
Yeah.
And if they're just better players, it's not the NBA where you get NBA players on one side that are better and they physically can go out and play better because they're better players. In the NFL, better doesn't matter. If the players are not game planning for the game and the coaching staff is not putting you in the best position to win the game, being a more talented athlete on the field is utterly irrelevant towards the outcome of a game. I only care if there's going to be a correct amount of effort and game preparation in the game. And if we don't know that, if they're just going into this game thinking, hey, let's get out of Dodge, stay healthy, we don't care if we win or lose, it doesn't matter if the Eagles have better players.
Yeah. The Eagles covered last week in week 18 without Barkley and
Hunt. I could see exactly that situation. It could be 20-13, 20-17, something in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm. The backups will give effort. The question is, will the coaching staff make a game plan for them?
Exactly.
Right. So they're trying. The coaches are preparing for either the Niners or the Rams. At this point. Yes, right. Exactly. So, all right. Let's get to the next game, which is we have 3 games left. Cardinals at the Rams. This line is Rams -7.5. Rams coming off that ugly loss to the Falcons, where they're missing 3 offensive linemen and Stafford is getting hit. And I tweeted at the Rams at their Twitter handle on like why is Stafford playing like this game? They can still get the 5 seed next week. Why are you putting Stafford out there with 3 offensive linemen? And then they blocked the field goal return for a touchdown, and then they almost win the game. But still, I thought it was very very foolish to go for it last week. But anyway,
did you think it was foolish to go for it during the game when they were already down 21-0 or before the game? Because I know you thought it was meaningless before the game. We were wrong about that.
Yeah. But like when you're down,
if they won both, they lock up the 5. Now they don't control their own destiny unless the Niners lose.
I'm watching in the middle of the game. I'm watching the Rams down 3 scores and Stafford getting beaten to
okay, so you're thinking once they're pretty much out of the game, you're thinking don't do it. Even though, to their credit, granted there was a kick return, a blocked field goal for a touchdown,
right?
That obviously put them back in that game. But I hear your point. Once it's 21-0, stay healthy.
Yeah,
but they did almost come back and win. When they tied that game, I was sure they were winning.
I know. Yeah, it was crazy. So, anyway, this game really depends on what happens in the San Francisco Seattle game, because if Seattle wins, the Niners or the Rams could still fight for the 5 seed. And so in that situation, I would assume that they're going to go for it. What Sean McVay said, the starters will play. We don't know how long they're going to play. He didn't say that, but if they can get the 5 seed, I assume that they're going to play the whole way. And if they do, we saw this last time they played Arizona. They were coming off a loss, and they destroyed the Cardinals. And the Cardinals just can't compete right now. Half their defense is out, although Budda Baker will be back this week, but still it's not like one guy is going to fix all the problems. So the Rams should be able to score easily, especially with Alaric Jackson due back this week. So that's that would be the Rams with Seattle winning. Now, San Francisco wins, the Rams can't get out of the 6th seed. They're going to be stuck there. So I still think they would play because Sean McVay said they would play. But does that mean, okay, we're going to get a drive here, score a touchdown? Okay, we look good. Let's get out of the game. That could happen. We saw that. I've seen teams do that before. I think the Eagles did that a few years ago. Or maybe it's like a quarter. Maybe they play half and then they sit their guys. We had a suggestion last night on the show: play the Rams first half.
That's what I like that one.
Yeah. So I think that's what I would do in that situation. So really, this depends on what happens Saturday night. Right now, it's very difficult to handicap this game unless you feel extremely strongly about the Seattle-San Francisco game, which either of us does not. So, Rams first half or Rams full game, depending on what happens. What do you think about this game?
I mean, you took all the words out of my mouth, so no reason to rehash it. If the Niners lose, the Rams are going to win this game by 21 plus. If the Niners win, I would assume that the Rams play a quarter to a quarter and a half. I would think the line comes down a little bit. Maybe it's in that 4.5 range, 6.5 range, something below 7. If the Niners win, if Seattle wins, I think that line immediately goes up to like 11.5. Because remember, the look ahead, the advanced line, or at least the Sunday night line, was 13.5. Mm-hmm. So I think if the Niners lose that game and the Rams have a chance to get to the 5 with a win and a rematch against Carolina or Tampa, that line is going to be double digits, and the 7 is going to be a gimme. The problem is we don't know, so we can't bet that. We can't take it for our card. If we're making an assumption that the Niners can win the game, you can't touch. It's almost like a 2-game parlay. If you're playing the Rams -7, you might as well be playing Seattle -1.5. If you're playing, they go together. Mm-hmm. So if you're somebody in this contest playing Seattle, you should absolutely be playing the Rams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we agree on this one that we can't play on the card, but we might be able to play.
This is one you got to bet Saturday night at 11 o'clock Eastern time, or when the Niners are losing. If that game is over and you see before that game ends, the Niners are going to be out of that game, and you can still somehow get a live line on the Rams -7. Get on it, because the minute that game's over, that line's going to move.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's we might as well go to the next game then, because we can't put this one on the card. Chargers at the Broncos. This line is Broncos -12.5. We had our 3-way argument on the show last night where Andy and I were talking, and then you were commenting. So I maybe Andy will turn the favor here and comment. But I mean, my opinion on this, and I think you agree. Denver is the play here because the Chargers will be resting their starters, and at that point, you're talking about, again, like the Packers, one of the worst teams in the NFL this week only, because the Chargers, while you can't sit all your defensive starters, there's just not enough players. Like there's not gonna be Khalil Mack in this game. There's not gonna be Derwin James. There's not gonna be Keenan Allen. There's no Quentin Johnson. There's no Ladd McConkey. There's no Marion Hampton. There's no Justin Herbert. You have a bunch of scrubs, and unlike the Eagles, the Chargers aren't nearly as deep. We saw it earlier in the year, but Khalil Mack was missing. Their defense was not good. And then their defense suddenly got good when Khalil Mack and Denzel Perriman returned, and Perriman's suspended. So we know he's out and Mack's not going to play. So this defense is going to be pretty bad. Denver should be able to score, and I say should because Denver sometimes has issues scoring. Bo Nix really sucks, but here he's going to have a team with a low effort, no game plan, and a bunch of backups. So maybe he'll have a good game. And we saw it last year in Week 18, 38-0 against the Chiefs. I think this could be a somewhat similar, situation here for the Broncos. And normally I'd be like, no way am I laying 12.5 with this stupid Bronco team that's extremely overrated. But in this situation, I am going to bet it. I'm betting the Broncos here, and they're going to be on my personal card. So what do you think about this game?
Well, this is the fourth game where with Houston, Indianapolis, and New England that you throw into that round robin money line parlay, 10, 13-point teaser, whatever you can get down on these teams winning, because there's no chance Denver loses this game. And I'm much more confident in Denver winning this game than I am Jacksonville or Jacksonville or Houston. And that's simply because it's not about the depth of the talent. It's about the game plan or the lack thereof. There's no way Harbaugh is coming out in this game with any sort of game plan whatsoever, because if they end up as the 7th seed and they win a playoff game, they're going right back to Denver. And they're not going to show you anything. Nothing even remotely. This is an absolute exhibition game for the Chargers. And that's where the motivation starts and ends, and nothing else matters in this game besides for that. This game might be close to 38-0. I don't see the Chargers scoring. I don't see them scheming up anything for Trey Lance. I don't think he'll have the ability to move the ball downfield. The only question really becomes, from a margin perspective, can Bo Nix move the ball and not make mistakes, not throw the ball away, not turn the ball over? Because if he does, that's the great equalizer. If he fumbles the ball, if he makes mistakes, we know he's throwing the ball behind his receivers constantly. They did not play well against the Chiefs, who, by the way, that was in Arrowhead, and the Chiefs' defense is not bad, and they were playing hard. That was a home game on Christmas Day. Why wouldn't they play hard? And they came off a brutal beatdown the week before. So they showed some pride. They're a championship caliber team. They showed some pride. They played hard against a divisional rival that they don't like. And that was kind of their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Chargers have what to look forward to. So they're not going to give you any effort whatsoever in this game, and there's not going to be any game plan in this effort. So you want to tell me that the backups are going to try hard? Cool. The coaching staff won't. The coaching staff's not sitting there all week grinding film, putting in a system that's going to do anything. And Denver, by the way, is not going to show much either. It's going to be a vanilla game plan from Denver. But you know what they're going to be able to do? They're going to be able to rush the quarterback. Chargers don't have an offensive line, even if they were starting their starting tackles. I don't even know who their starting tackles are. Bobby Hart is a turnstile at left tackle if he's playing tackle. Austin Deculus. These guys are horrendous. These guys are awful. This is one of the worst offensive lines, unless you take away the Raiders' offensive line. It's almost like these guys aren't playing offensive line, not trying. That's how bad they've looked. So I have a team that's not going to score against a team that's coming off of a very, very poor performance last week. I would imagine Denver wants to come out and play well offensively, well enough to give themselves confidence going into the postseason. They win this game, they get to rest next week. Period. Win this week, come out, play defense. This game can be I think this game is going to be like 23-3. I don't think they're running up the score and getting 38 like last year. Now, would it shock me? No. But I don't think it's going to be 38-0. I think this game is going to be more like 23-9, 23-6, something 14, 17 points. I don't love laying the points because, like Houston, Denver's offense isn't very good. And Denver hasn't really gotten margin all year. We did take Denver when they played Cincinnati. Was it Cincinnati or was it Washington? I think it was Cincinnati. It was Jake Browning, I want to say, on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Monday night, yeah.
Yeah, so we played them in that spot, and I think this will be a similar type of game. Although, obviously, Browning and Bengals gave an effort and had a game plan to give an effort. Here, you won't see an effort. You won't see a game plan. You won't see a team scoring more than 10 points. I would take the Chargers team total under, similar to some of the other games we mentioned, like the Jets. I would play the first half team total under. I would play the live unders, and I would watch the game and just watch the Chargers run, punt, run the clock. Let's get out of the game. Let's get out of Denver healthy. Let's have some offensive linemen for the following week when they have to go to New England, because that's going to be an interesting game. Chargers in New England, to me, is a very interesting game. Now, the other question is here, the Chargers theoretically could lose and get the 6th seed, right? If the Bills lose.
Yeah.
If the Bills lose, are they the 7?
Yes. Chargers have the tiebreaker.
Chargers have the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
So if Denver wins and the Jets win, where's the Jets? Jets.
Yeah, Houston would be the 5 if they win.
Right. So. Houston would be the 5. Now, if Houston loses, Houston would still be the 5.
Right.
If all 3 of those teams lose, theoretically, let's give Houston the win. So if Buffalo loses, they're the 7.
Yes.
An argument could be made that Buffalo would like to lose and be the 7 because they know they beat New England. They just beat New England. New England would be very pissed off if they had to play Buffalo in the first round. That would suck.
I know.
And the Chargers, well, they got blown out against Jacksonville, but I feel like the unknown with Jacksonville, I think if I'm Buffalo, I secretly would rather be the 7th seed because I know I'm going to go to New England. I just beat them. And when I win that game, I'm going to go kill Denver like I did last year.
Yep.
And now I'm playing the winner of, I don't know, Jacksonville, Houston, take my chances.
Yes.
So maybe Buffalo would rather lose than go to Jacksonville and playing that game. But I know New England's rooting for the Jets because New England would absolutely rather play the Chargers.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, the Chargers going into the cold, that would not be not be ideal for them at all with no offensive line either. So,
Right.
how much do you like Denver? Is it definite maybe? What do you think?
Well, again, it's not a definite because it becomes a definite because there's not a lot of other games that I like. Like, do I like Denver more than I like Minnesota? I think I do. I
Mm-hmm.
think I'd put Denver ahead of Minnesota because I trust I trust Bo Nix.
Oh my
Jesus, I
God.
trust Bo Nix more than I trust Broken Hand McCarthy / Max Brosmer. Even though we already know Packers aren't giving you an effort, and the Chargers told you they're not giving you an effort. So what do you like better? Bo Nix laying 12 or Max Brosmer / JJ McCarthy laying 8? I feel like I like Denver a little better because they played so poorly offensively. I feel like they want to come out and play better offensively this week. Be a little bit more of an emphasis on protect the football, let's move the ball, let's score some points.
Yeah.
So I would say Denver over Minnesota, but New England, Chicago, and New Orleans would definitely be my top 3.
Yeah. Okay. Broken Hands McCarthy sounds like a mob person or something.
Broken Hands McCarthy's a mob guy.
or a Dick Tracy character. I looked at Tracy back in the day. Flat top, the brow, broken hands. So yeah, we have one of those guys. So anyway, the Sunday night game, Ravens at the Steelers. Ravens are 3.5-point favorites. We had disagreement on this game last night. I know Andy liked the Steelers at plus 3.5 because these games when Lamar Jackson is either not at home or not involved are usually 3-point games. Obviously, Lamar Jackson at home versus the Steelers when healthy has dominated them. But here, Lamar Jackson will play. He has been full both times. This is the first time since he's returned from injury that he's been full in every practice so far, unless he suffers a setback tomorrow. So that I think that's a big deal. Derrick Henry running now, I think, is also a big deal. And something that was a third big deal here is that the Steelers are going to be missing their best offensive player in DK Metcalf, which means they don't have anything downfield, like nothing at all. Like their offense is so inept without Metcalf. It's kind of like last year without George Pickens. And then defensively, they are probably not going to have their best defensive player. There's a chance TJ Watt returns. He's been limited both times, so I think he's still a week away from what I read. I know he could still make. There's like I said, outside chance he plays, but I don't think so. So the Steelers without their best offensive player and their best defensive player, that's a tough ask against Baltimore. We just saw this team lose to the Browns, which normally they do anyway. But and I know that these home underdog spots are usually better for them, but I just think that Baltimore is the much better team right now, considering the injuries Pittsburgh has. So I'm going to be on Baltimore, but I'm not going to be betting this game. It's a really tough number. If this is 2.5, I'd like a lot more for Baltimore. 3.5 is pretty difficult. So how do you feel about this game?
For some reason, I'm very confident that Baltimore is going to win by 3.
Right.
And I really would have liked Baltimore at 1.5 because I made the line 1.5.
Okay.
And at 3.5, which I don't think is a warranted line. I understand the line. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't understand why that line is what it is. Here, I get it. I understand it. Pittsburgh without the offense. Pittsburgh offensively last week was 4.5 yards per play. Granted, Browns defense, not bad. Rodgers had nobody to throw the ball to downfield. There's no Darnell Washington. He was throwing the ball at Freiermuth on that last drive where they should have gotten into the end zone. He had a bunch of passes to Freiermuth downfield. Otherwise, it's a lot of screen passes to Gainwell. It's a lot of runs with Warren. Now, in the last game against Baltimore, they had 17 carries for 34 yards, 2 yards per carry. Henry on the other side, or Baltimore on the other side, had 40 carries for over 200 yards rushing. So Lamar was able to run the ball in that game. Now, Lamar, they weren't great in the red zone. Baltimore was 2 for 6 in the red zone. That wasn't really Lamar's fault. There was a couple of drops. Rashad Bateman had a bad drop that would have been a first down at like the 7-yard line that he dropped the ball, led to a field goal. So Baltimore not getting touchdowns is somewhat of an issue. For some reason, it's Mike Tomlin. I was on Pittsburgh last week, -3. I feel like I want to go back to the well with them. They shouldn't cover this game. It doesn't make sense. They don't have an offense. TJ Watt might not play. Forget Lamar's health. Forget everything about the Ravens. They're going to forget. They're going to remember Henry's there. It doesn't matter. This is all Tomlin Rodgers. Somehow, some way, I feel like they'll find a way to be close. This game will be one of those back and forth. Now, I was all over the Ravens a couple weeks ago, laying 6, lost. Last year, pounded the Ravens in multiple games against the Steelers. We won both of them easily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll be like that. I think Lamar has not been running well. Their defense hasn't been as good. Even though Rodgers has nobody to throw the ball downfield to other than Freiermuth, I still feel like they're going to keep this game close. It might just be a lot of Kenny Gainwell. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, it was Jalen Warren had a 30-yard screen pass for a touchdown. Might be a lot of Warren as well.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers somehow will get the ball out of his hands, short, quick screens, 6 yards over the middle to Freiermuth, 12 yards over the middle to Freiermuth, punts, just low scoring. It's going to be cold at night. It might be snowing at night. We got to check the weather and see what the weather is going to be like, because how can't you just picture, we've talked about this before, Lamar Jackson in his stupid hoodie, whatever he wears, that one-piece scarf hood thing, just standing on the sidelines, freezing, with the team losing 20-17 or 20-16 late, and he just threw a ball away or got strip sacked. I can't lay 3.5 points. I really believe Baltimore will win the game.
Yeah.
But I think the Steelers could win the game. And I'm getting now 3.5 points. I think that line is off by a point or two. And I'm right in that key range. So I lean Pittsburgh plus 3.5. And I think it's going to be I want to say a good game. I think it's going to be a very, very close, ugly game. It'll be your typical Pittsburgh-Baltimore 3-point, 19-16, a lot of field goals. Give me Boswell in that situation, who will make clutch kicks. Although Boswell wasn't good last week. What, did he miss 2 field goals last week? Unlike him.
Yeah, apparently he never kicks well in Cleveland. Maybe that's why they keep losing in Cleveland.
He kicks well in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, right.
And Loop last week, or a Loop in the game against, was it last week or was it again in the Pittsburgh game? Because I know I rewatched that game this week, because now I'm like losing my mind on which game it was. I think he missed an extra point, or maybe he made an extra point, but he doinked it in.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I trust Boswell to make those big kicks in this situation more than I do Loop.
Yeah.
But I hate saying I like Baltimore to win, because I like Baltimore to win. But I like Pittsburgh plus 3.5. So it's a total cop-out. It's like, he's just, he wins either way. He wins Baltimore, he wins Pittsburgh. Contest perspective, I like the 3.5. Give me plus 3.5.
Okay.
But I have both teams. I have both teams to win. So I don't really care. There's no hedge necessary. Maybe I should hedge a little bit. I told you I bet a little bit more because I was a little bit heavier when I got Baltimore 10-1. I was a little bit heavier on Baltimore to win the division. So I immediately bet the 3.5 because I had to. Because why not? My best case scenario is Baltimore winning by 3 or 1-3. So, but I really think that's going to happen. I really think this is going to be one of those, back and forth. I trust Boswell more, but I do think Baltimore will find a way to win because of Henry. If they remember that he's on the team, they feed him. He is the difference maker in this game, obviously. And Rodgers not having a person to throw the ball downfield to, obviously, is a problem. What's with Calvin Austin? He's for sure out. Calvin Austin's out. Because he had a nice game against them the first time around, too.
Yeah, and with Metcalf drawing attention, so that definitely helps him. Calvin Austin limited twice with the hamstring. So
so that's a big problem. Yeah. I can see Thielen making a big play, right? Just one. MVS, one play. Yeah, just make one play downfield. I know but you know what? It's going to be a lot of screens. Screens Gainwell, screen Warren, Freiermuth, Boswell, and somehow this game will be back and forth, and Baltimore is going to win the game 20-19.
Yep.
What's the over-under? Just curious.
It's 30, 40 and a half, 41.
40 and a half, 41. There you go. 20-19. Perfect score.
Yeah. Look, I can see it. I can see it both ways. Baltimore's a better team. I'm going to take them, but it could easily be a 3-point game or a 1-2.
Baltimore is the better team. I fully agree with that. And my power ratings now, again, everything's going forwards. It's not about your resume and what you've done for me lately. It's what do I think of you going forwards? Full strength ceiling. I have the Ravens as a top 10 team.
Okay.
At full strength. That means healthy Lamar, who's able to run. Remember that Henry exists. I have the Ravens in the top 10. I have the Ravens ahead of the Niners, ahead of the Bears, ahead of the Broncos, ahead of the Packers, all other playoff teams. I have the Ravens better than them. I have the Steelers slightly behind that. So I think the Ravens will win the game. But I don't think the Ravens are going to cover.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, we've seen that a lot over the years. I made this line 2.5, so it is too high for me. But I think the injuries play a factor there, and so I'm on Baltimore just for office pool purposes, no bet here.
So in that scenario, we have the Patriots, Bears, and Saints. I think we would probably say Denver goes into that mix as a definite.
Yep.
And then the question is, do you like? Oh, you don't really like Washington. You laid 4 with the Eagles, even though you did that more as a hedge.
Well, if what's the circle line? It's 4. So if it were still 7, I'd like Washington 4. No way. Yeah.
I would say then we probably go back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Listen, there's not a lot of good games to take this week. When you talk about, a situation, Rams, we don't really know.
Yeah.
Lines that are moving. Not a lot of good games to wager on. You talk about unit betting pregame. Yeah.
It's a shame Olave's out. I'd like to say
Olave being out is a tough one because I would really like the Saints getting 3.5 with Olave.
Yeah, and we still like them.
We're still going to take the Saints at 3.5. Yeah. I think that should be on our definite card. But when you're betting these games, tease them, wait for the in-game, look for the props as we've discussed so much over the last few weeks. We've been doing so well with we've been doing great with those player props. Really just fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really the way. If you want to win money betting these games. Now, obviously, the people who can't bet live, the people who are, very high-end, high-stakes, 10,000 and up a game bettors, you can't get that kind of action down live. So those people are not betting live. And some people just don't want to sit with a computer or a phone while you're watching games. People say it's not enjoyable. I find it to be very enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to sit and do that, okay, you want some money on the games, great. I would be very, very careful and cautious going into this week where you don't know who's playing what. But if you do want to win money betting on football, in-game is the way to go. Or teasers. Because if you're laying 4 or taking 7 or laying 2.5 or plus 3.5, you're really flipping a coin. Mm-hmm. And if you're not flipping a coin, you're very close to flipping a coin.
Right.
But I think you've seen now, even if we haven't won 65%, we're up tens of units in the last month on random player props. And it's not so random because I've said to you, I don't want the Theo Johnsons of the world. I want the guys with usage. I want the quarterbacks who have the ball in their hands. I want the running backs that I know are getting the ball, or I want the Puka Nakuas of the world who I know are getting the ball late. I don't want Theo Johnson. I don't want the random tight end because this one's bad against tight ends. I want the quarterback who I know is running. I want the running back who's getting the ball, or I want the high-end receiver who's getting 50% or higher share of the targets. In a situation that I know already, not pregame, not, if this team is behind, I like that. No, I know so-and-so is behind. I know we're playing in a high-scoring game right now. I said to you last week, I wish the Cardinals would have scored because then we would have bet on Burrow. You know who had 300 yards anyway? Burrow. You know who didn't bet it? You and me. So we didn't bet it. We couldn't bet it because the situation didn't call for it, but he still ended up with 300-plus yards. Caleb Williams ended up with 300-plus yards. We bet it. Derrick Henry, 175, 200. We got it. We got there. So we're not going to get all of them, but we're getting a lot of these. That's where you're making money. Otherwise, just have some fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. And I'll go 2-1-1 on the units this week. So we'll see how that goes.
Listen, and just don't force, right? Obviously, you want to dabble with it, kind of get your feet wet. I get it.
Yeah.
But you understand how this works. And we're not going to win 100% of the time. But we don't have to win even 52% of the time when you're getting plus 300.
Yeah, that's true. Was to say, Dom asking, who are your top 2 teams from each conference to go to the Super Bowl? If you can share.
It's all related for me. I have no way of making that pick now without knowing the matchups.
Okay, for me, if I were to rank the top two, and for me right now, I would say like the top. I have a top three in each conference. Like I'm confident, very confident in three teams in each
So you
conference.
have 6 out of 14. That's great.
Yeah, but it's kind of like what we were doing with the
Let me guess
Nationals preview.
who you're thinking. In the
Okay.
AFC, you're thinking Jacksonville.
Yes.
I'm going to say you're not thinking Denver.
Nope.
You're
No
not
way.
thinking Baltimore, Pittsburgh. So you're probably thinking Jacksonville. You're probably thinking Buffalo,
Yep.
and you're probably thinking Houston.
Oh, 2 out of 3. Not
Okay, you
Houston.
got New England. Okay.
New England. New England. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's so well coached. Drake May. I know they had an easy schedule, but they've slaughtered their opponents.
Oh, I
You know?
agree. I agree. And we'll talk
Yeah.
next week about strength of schedule because it's something that I really pay attention to as we go into the playoffs. And it's
Mhm.
been very, very good for me the last few years, round one. This year it's going to be interesting because so many of these teams have had such bad strength of schedules. But if
Yeah.
they play each other, like throw it out the window. But I really think it's matchup based. Really
Mhm.
think it's matchup based. If we get a playoff scenario where fast forward and it's Buffalo against Jacksonville, so I'm still going to be on Buffalo to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't care who they're playing. I'm going to play them until they're out. So I'm going to throw my bias out right now. I'm playing Buffalo, and my biggest fear is that they're injured, because obviously that's going to matter.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go. I'm going to be on Buffalo until otherwise, just like I was on Kansas City until otherwise off.
Mhm.
I'll be on Buffalo until they're out. I will be against Denver no matter what. Now, if the Chargers go into New England and beat New England, and then they go to Denver, that's a tough matchup for the Chargers, just given the offensive line. Really, really tough matchup.
Mhm.
So I would probably be on the Chargers getting points. I do not think the Chargers or Denver are going to go to the Super Bowl. I would think probably New England, again, matchup related. The winner of Buffalo Jacksonville to me is going to have a really good shot. I don't think Houston's going to the Super Bowl either.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me, by the way, if Houston lost to Baltimore. If Houston plays Baltimore, it wouldn't surprise me if they lost that game. I'd probably pick
Yeah.
them to win that game, but it wouldn't surprise me if they lost that game.
I like Baltimore better than Denver.
I would probably say for me, it's between New England and the winner of Jacksonville, Buffalo, to go to the Super Bowl.
Or
Which is weird because if that's the case, it could very well be that those teams.
Mhm.
Oh no, because Buffalo would win. They'd probably play. They would be playing Denver next. So I would say the winner of Jacksonville, New England, Buffalo is going to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC. In the NFC,
Oh, you want to guess my three teams?
let's say you have
Yeah,
three
and-
teams in the NFC. I'm going to guess you're going to go with the Rams because you love the
Mhm.
Rams.
I love the Rams.
Seattle because you have them this week, which means they're the 1 seed.
Yes.
And definitely not Carolina, Tampa Bay.
Wait, no, just kidding.
I'm guessing you're nowhere near Green Bay.
Nope.
And I really don't think you're big on Chicago, but matchup wise, I would say you're probably between the winner of the Philly, Rams, Seattle.
Yeah. Eagles, Rams, Seahawks. Yeah.
For
So
me, if Seahawks win,
yeah,
the Seahawks win, I would for sure have Rams at Seattle rematch, and then Eagles Bears rematch. Son of a bitch lost against my Circa, and I would take the Eagles over Chicago, and I would probably, even though I had Seattle over the Rams in the regular season on the revenge, I would flip that now, and I would take Rams over Seattle in the playoffs. At least right now in my head. Rams Eagles is a great game in Rams. It's a great game. In Philly, I'd probably lean towards the Eagles. I don't know. That'd be a tough one. That'd be a very, very tough one.
Last year there was a blizzard.
That was a close game. Yeah, Stafford
yeah.
almost brought them back. They were down 6. They drove the field and they had a chance in the snow.
Yeah, and the Rams this year are better than the last year's Rams, and the Eagles this year are not as good as last year's Eagles. So, yeah. Those are my teams. Don, thank you.
But if the Niners win,
thank you.
If the Niners win,
Yeah.
don't count the Niners out if they're at home.
Yes,
against
yeah,
any one
yeah,
of these teams,
I agree. Even though they have no pass rush, yeah, I agree.
even though they have no pass rush.
Yeah. I really, I think for me, it'd be Rams, Eagles, and the number one seed.
Rams, Eagles, and the number one seed is exactly what I would think as well.
Yeah.
Because let's see if it's the Niners, then we get Seattle. Well, Seattle would be the 5 because you're knocking out Rams, Philly round 1. Seattle advances. So if you get Niners, Rams second round, and then you get Bears, Seattle. Ugh, I don't like that one at all. But if the Eagles won, then you get Niners, Seahawks, and then you have the Niners at home against the winner of Bears, Eagles. Oh, that would be nice. I'm trying to think of what my favorite, my preferred matchup would be is Green Bay, obviously beating the Bears. By the way, Malik Willis. Let's talk about Malik Willis for a minute. He was awesome last week.
Oh yeah,
he was really good, and we had 300 plus passing yards. He had 288 and threw his arm out of his shoulder.
Yeah, we had rushing yards still on him.
Rushing yards, the passing yards. Malik Willis has looked really, really good. I could see Green Bay going into Chicago and beating them with Malik Willis. Although it would be love because I know it's concussion protocol.
Yeah.
As a Niner fan, I would salivate over a Niners-Packers divisional matchup.
The Niners have owned the Packers. Beautiful. The Niners have owned the Packers.
Oh, we own the same way the Packers own the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least the Aaron Rodgers Packers and Brett Favre Packers own the Bears. The Niners don't lose to the Packers in the playoffs.
Yeah, that 2-7 matchup's not a gimme. I know the Packers don't have Parsons anymore, and Zach Tom's injured, and Jacobs is dealing with an injury. Like the Bears almost lost to that team at home.
Definitely not a gimme. Definitely not a gimme.
No,
that would be an interesting game. That would be a 2.5 point spread, 1.5.
I would have guessed 2.5. Yeah,
2.5. Yeah, makes sense. That's close to a pick'em.
Yeah.
Well, that's considered. If the Niners do get the one, I would still probably lean towards the Bears winning the game. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Packers won. I would still think the Eagles. I would think it's still going to be Niners, Seahawks, Eagles, Bears, and I still feel like for me, my preferred team in the NFC, if they're at home, would be the Eagles. Because I do like the Eagles at home against the Rams. And again, it really to me comes down to the short yardage situation. I continue to tell this to you. I text you about it. The Rams are so bad in third down short yardage. By the way, they're 21st in the league in third down in general, 37% conversion percentage. But I don't have the breakdown of short yardage. But I'm telling you the eye test, because I watch every single Eagles game twice. The eye test tells me that they're very good on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5. Mm-hmm. They suck on 3rd and 1. They are horrible.
Yeah. They should
3rd and 1, 4th and 1, it is awful.
They should just pretend. They should just pretend they're 3rd and 6 every time they're 3rd and 1.
When they run the ball on 3rd or 4th down short, they have no shot.
None.
They have no chance. They have no quarterback mobility, and they can't run the ball up the middle. But when you throw the ball at Puka and you need 4 yards, 6 yards, gimme.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a 3rd and 6 against the Falcons, and they converted so easily. I'm like thinking, why don't they just make that play on 3rd and 1?
Yeah, they refuse.
Right.
It's crazy. They do it over and over again. They just run a draw right up the middle.
Yeah, it's
nothing
so ridiculous.
Creative about it. There's no outside zone. There's no toss. There's no nothing. They can't tush push. They have no power game. It's terrible. Stafford's under center.
Yeah.
It's the line doesn't get the interior of the line doesn't get any push. It's routine. It's one game after another. They do not convert 3rd or 4th and short, and that's going to be a very big problem against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis.
They should just, what they should do is they should just go to every Planet Fitness in America and find a guy who can squat 600 pounds, and then just sign him to do tush push, and then they'll convert every 3rd and 1.
It's mind-boggling that McVay, of all coaches, who's one of the most brilliant coaches in the league, can't come up with something better than a straight draw up the middle with Blake Corum, who's not a very good running back, or Kyler Williams, not very big. Corum's their big back, quote unquote.
Right.
He can't get a yard.
Yeah.
That's going to be their downfall if they play in Philly. Now, Philly is their own downfall when they just decide to stop playing. So, but I still think that it's a great game. I mean, it's interesting that right now the current look ahead has Rams -1.5. I would have Rams I would have the game pick 'em. So you know what? 1.5 is not crazy. I would make the line pick 'em.
Yeah, well, on Tuesday's show, Kenny, who's a big Eagles fan, we're talking about the playoffs, and I'm like, Kenny, you need to, if it's, as an Eagle fan, you really need to worry about only one team. Do you know which team that is?
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, wait, you were asking him?
I was asking him, as you're an Eagle fan, you need to only worry about one team in the playoffs.
Is it not the Rams?
No, it's not the
Panthers?
Rams. No.
Who are you worried about?
The Eagles.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Yeah. They find ways to just shoot themselves in the foot the entire year.
That's exactly right. That's 100% right.
Yeah.
They beat themselves, and they beat themselves with stupidity on the sidelines. They forget. I don't know what they forget. They have all the talent to be a top team. They're real contenders, no question about it. But it's going to come down to matchups. Like I said, if the Rams are in the 5 spot, you could book the Rams in the second round, and depending on who wins what, I think the Rams are going to go back to Seattle if the Rams are in the 5 spot.
Yeah,
and then the Eagles have to worry about playing in Chicago, getting a revenge spot against the Bears. Yeah. I think from as a Niner fan, if the Niners lose, and you see it right there on the screen, if you scroll down a little bit, Niners Eagles, I would bet that. I already did bet that. If I were you, I would bet that now.
I am going to bet it after the show and tweet this out, because if you missed the beginning of the show, this number is unbelievable. Like this should be like Niners at Eagles should be like Eagles minus 4.5, or maybe like 4 or something like that. If this matchup does not occur, you get your money back, so you don't have to worry about it. And then if it does occur, then this line will rise, because if the Niners lose, then there's going to be more of a negative sentiment about them, and so you can hedge or middle. And if the Eagles win by 3 and you get plus 2.5, 3.5, and minus 2.5, then that's awesome. So
what you do is you put 2 units on it right now, and you put 1 unit back the other way.
Yep.
Or if you like it more than that, you go 4 and 2.
4 and 2, yeah, exactly.
Do whatever you want. You will not have a bad number, and it's minus 105.
Yes. Minus 105 on top of that. That's pretty awesome. So yeah. Well, I'll definitely be doing that. I'll tweet it out. I was in my head, I was thinking 3 units, so go 1.5 the other way.
And you have the benefit of knowing that Hurts is not going to get injured. Saquon's not getting injured unless they get hurt. I guess you can always get hurt in practice. It's happened before. I've had futures bets that I've taken a week in advance, knowing they were buys. And I think back in the day, Peyton Manning or somebody. Oh no, it wasn't Peyton Manning. I'm sorry, it was Andrew Luck. I believe got hurt in practice on a week where I had a pre-week or a week in advance line on the Colts, and I believe it was Luck. I'm pretty sure it was Andrew Luck who got hurt in practice. Somebody got hurt in practice, bad.
Yeah, it was against the Texans. There's a Colts
Very
Texans
possible.
game. That went from like 13.5 to 3.5 or something.
Yes, exactly. Because I had played it on a 13-point teaser as a pick'em. It went down to 3.5. That makes sense. So you could always get an injury in practice, but barring something crazy, fluky in practice, that line is absolutely over 3. So it makes no sense that line is 2.5. I would put 10 units on that. No joke. Because whatever you put on that, you could bet back the other way.
Right.
There's no scenario where that line is going, because if the Niners look good and win, the game doesn't happen.
Sure. Yeah.
It only happens if the Niners lose the game. Now they can look great in losing. They played great, and there was something crazy or fluky, or maybe they're down 14-0 early and they fight back and they lose in overtime and they look amazing, and they lost 38-35 in overtime. The offense is humming, but if they lose 38-35 in overtime, why'd they give up 38 points? Right. There's no scenario where they can lose this game and that line falls where you can't hedge or buy out if you don't like your position down the road. So you put $1,000 on it right now, and if you don't like it, put $1,000 the other way down the road, and it'll cost you $100 or $50 to have a $100 bet that pays you 20 to 1 on a middle.
Do you think is there a limit on this on these future betting, these future lines? Do you know? I don't know if there is, but
there is a limit for everybody.
Sure, but like more so than a regular game. For example.
I'm gonna go in right now. I'm gonna try to bet more on this. See what happens.
Okay. And yeah, as you're doing that, like the dream, and maybe you should close your ears as a Niner fan. The
So
dream, if
I was just able to put another $500 on it, no problem.
okay. The dream for this as a as a non-Niner fan, and if you bet this game, is that you bet the -2.5, and then Brock Purdy goes down, and and George Kittle goes down, for example, and then it's not 3.5, it's like 6.5, and then or seven, even 7.5, and you're getting like a huge middle, or even you may not even want to middle at that point. Um, yeah, it's definitely some crazy possibilities here. So yeah,
You're that's exactly right. You're looking at the middle opportunity there for for the Eagles for the Niners down the road, where when that line opens 3.5 or 4.5, you play it right back, and you could play it for a full bet, half bet, 80% of your bet, whatever that case may be. You're playing it down the road. I'm just adding into my card here. Minus 2.5 wild card hypothetical. You're only playing it now, not because you think they're going to win the game, which I do, but you're playing it only because you're going to get a better number on the Niners in a week that you can play back for a nice middle, or you might like your Eagles position. If you really like the Eagles, you don't have to bet it at 3.5 or 4.5 because you already have it at 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no scenario where that line opens Eagles pick 'em or Eagles -1. That's insane.
Right.
I hope this game doesn't happen. Let's not even have this conversation. We'll have to have this conversation if they win this game.
Right.
But if they lose this game, you're going to see that line is going to move.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a great point here.
Andy, if Andy's still listening, I wonder what Andy would make that line. Niners, Eagles, because Andy likes the Niners this week, which means Andy probably has the Niners power rate a little bit higher than I do.
Yeah.
But I would be very surprised if Andy had that line anything under 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Anything else before we head out?
Is there anything else before we head out? I don't think so. We're going to look for injury reports. We're looking at Vikings, Pats, Bears, Saints, and Broncos.
Yes.
Playing with the Rams. Unfortunately, with the Rams, we can't really make a pick.
Yeah, right here on the screen. Patriots, Bears, Saints, Broncos, Vikings is what I have for our card.
We'll try to finish strong. We obviously didn't do great in our 5 throughout the season. We had a bunch of bad beats earlier on. But hopefully, like I say all the time, the goal here is not necessarily to give a pick on the game. It's to try to give insight into both sides. And maybe you like my argument versus Walt's argument or Andy's argument yesterday, because I heard some of your show. And again, I was so adamant. It wasn't because I liked the Chargers, it wasn't because I liked the Broncos. It was more so because I didn't care for the handicap. So cap the capper, and maybe we give you something where we say something where you don't like it. But I really do hope people are listening to the in-game, and I know you've tweeted out a bunch of times some of the in-game stuff that we've done, because it's not about winning 1 or 2 or 5 units. Like, we're literally winning 20 to 40 units a week on some of these props. It's just been unbelievable for the month of December. And I'm up over 250 units in the month of December. It's not December anymore. Now it's January. Sorry. So that was last month.
Right.
Got to restart this month. But this month's going to start with a great start because I have all these future tickets that we get to hedge. And that's the way I play.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to lose when you're getting out in front. And this, what we're doing here, Andy has Eagles -3 to -4. Get out in front of it now. Everybody should be on the Eagles -2.5 and -0.5. It's an absolute no-brainer. And if you don't agree with me, don't worry about it. Bet it anyway, and then double your bet. So play a unit on the 2.5 and play 2 units back on the Niners next week at +3 or +3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say, you know what, I don't agree with Evan. Great. Don't agree with Evan. Bet it anyway, and then double your bet next week. I'm going to bet triple now and then half of it next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my position will be heavy towards the Eagles side. If you don't agree with me, you'll be heavy towards the Niners side. But you'll get a better line. That much I can promise you. And that's where it's like, oh, you know what? This is how you win money. This is how you arbitrage. This is how you hedge. No reason not to take advantage. It's a bad number, and we appreciate the charity from FanDuel.
Thank you, Fandel. So it's a nice Christmas / New
Nice
Year's
Christmas,
gift.
New Year's bonus.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thanks especially to Dom for the $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Dom. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for a final week 18, a final regular season pick show with Tom. As usual, Tom and I will do. It's a different show where we bounce all over the place. We don't talk about every game. We just talk about games we like, and we tend to get into some crazy stuff, some crazy topics as well. So that'll be fun tomorrow. But if I don't see you tomorrow, good luck with all your betting this weekend. I hope you hit everything, and yeah, we'll be talking about the playoffs next week. So that'll be a fun time. So all right, guys. So yeah, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, visit walterfootball.com, share this video, and I will talk to you tomorrow.